Welcome back. Arthur Sterling here. Today, we bring our journey through the works of Edgar Allan Poe, the Raven Edition Volume 5 to its close. Instead of fragmenting the poet's final verses, we have gathered the remaining pieces into this single, complete conclusion. So, prepare for the final chapter of this volume. Before we finish, please ensure you are subscribed and have clicked the like button to support the collection. Now, let us hear the final verses. Preface. These trifles are collected and republished, chiefly with a view to their redemption, from the many improvements to which they have been subjected while going at random the rounds of the press. I am naturally anxious that what I have written should circulate as I wrote it, if it circulate at all. In defense of my own taste, nevertheless, it is incumbent upon me to say that I think nothing in this volume of much value to the public, or very creditable to myself. Events not to be controlled have prevented me from making, at any time, any serious effort in what, under happier circumstances, would have been the field of my choice. With me, poetry has been not a purpose, but a passion. And the passions should be held in reverence. They must not. They cannot at will be excited with an eye to the paltry compensations or the more paltry commendations of mankind. Edgar Allan Poe, 1845. Poems of later life. The Raven. Once upon a midnight dreary, while I pondered, weak and weary, over many a quaint and curious volume of forgotten lore, while I nodded, nearly napping, suddenly there came a tapping, as of someone gently rapping at my chamber door. "'Tis some visitor," I muttered, "tapping at my chamber door. Only this, and nothing more." Ah, distinctly, I remember it was in the bleak December, and each separate dying ember wrought its ghost upon the floor. Eagerly I wished the morrow. Vainly I had sought to borrow from my books surcease of sorrow. Sorrow for the lost Lenore, for the rare and radiant maiden whom the angels name Lenore, nameless here for evermore. And the silken, sad, uncertain rustling of each purple curtain thrilled me, filled me with fantastic terrors never felt before. So that now, to still the beating of my heart, I stood repeating, "'Tis some visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door. Some late visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door. This it is, and nothing more." Presently my soul grew stronger, hesitating then no longer. "Sir," said I, "or madam, truly your forgiveness I implore. But the fact is, I was napping, and so gently you came rapping, and so faintly you came tapping at my chamber door, that I scarce was sure I heard you." Here I opened wide the door. Darkness there and nothing more. Deep into that darkness peering, long I stood there wondering, fearing, doubting, dreaming dreams no mortal ever dared to dream before. But the silence was unbroken, and the darkness gave no token, and the only word there spoken was the whispered word, "Lenore." "This," I whispered, and an echo murmured back the word, "Lenore." Merely this, and nothing more. Back into the chamber turning, all my soul within me burning, soon I heard again a tapping somewhat louder than before. "Surely," said I, "surely that is something at my window lattice. Let me see then what thereat is, and this mystery explore. Let my heart be still a moment, and this mystery explore. 'Tis the wind and nothing more." Open here I flung the shutter when, with many a flirt and flutter, in there stepped a stately raven of the saintly days of yore. Not the least obeisance made he, not an instant stopped or stayed he, but with mien of lord or lady perched above my chamber door, perched upon a bust of Pallas just above my chamber door, perched and sat, and nothing more. Then this ebony bird beguiling my sad fancy into smiling, by the grave and stern decorum of the countenance it wore. "Though thy crest be shorn and shaven, thou," I said, "art sure no craven, ghastly grim and ancient raven wandering from the nightly shore. Tell me what thy lordly name is on the night's Plutonian shore." Quoth the raven, "Nevermore." Much I marveled this ungainly fowl to hear discourse so plainly, though its answer little meaning, little relevancy bore. For we cannot help agreeing that no living human being ever yet was blessed with seeing bird above his chamber door. Bird or beast upon the sculptured bust above his chamber door, with such name as Nevermore. But the raven, sitting lonely on the placid bust, spoke only that one word, as if his soul in that one word he did outpour. Nothing farther than he uttered, not a feather than he fluttered. till I scarcely more than muttered, "Other friends have flown before. On the morrow he will leave me, as my hopes have flown before." Then the bird said, "Nevermore," startled at the stillness broken by reply so aptly spoken. "Doubtless," said I, "what it utters is its only stock and store caught from some unhappy master, whom unmerciful disaster followed fast, and followed faster till his songs one burden bore. Till the dirges of his hope that melancholy burden bore, of never, nevermore." But the raven still beguiling all my sad soul into smiling, straight I wheeled a cushioned seat in front of bird and bust and door. Then, upon the velvet sinking, I betook myself to linking fancy unto fancy, thinking what this ominous bird of yore, what this grim, ungainly, ghastly, gaunt, and ominous bird of yore meant in croaking, "Nevermore." This I sat engaged in guessing, but no syllable expressing to the fowl whose fiery eyes now burned into my bosom's core. This and more I sat divining, with my head at ease reclining on the cushion's velvet lining that the lamplight gloated o'er. But whose velvet violet lining with the lamplight gloating o'er? She shall press, ah, nevermore. Then, methought, the air grew denser, perfumed from an unseen censer swung by angels whose faint footfalls tinkled on the tufted floor. "Wretch," I cried, "thy God hath lent thee, by these angels he hath sent thee respite, respite and nepenthe from thy memories of Lenore. Quaff, oh quaff this kind nepenthe, and forget this lost Lenore." Quoth the raven, "Nevermore." "Prophet," said I, "thing of evil, prophet still if bird or devil, whether tempter sent, or whether tempest tossed thee here ashore, desolate yet all undaunted, on this desert land enchanted, on this home by horror haunted, tell me truly, I implore, is there balm in Gilead? Tell me, I implore." Quoth the raven, "Nevermore." "Prophet," said I, "thing of evil, prophet still if bird or devil, by that heaven that bends above us, by that God we both adore, tell this soul with sorrow laden if, within the distant Aidenn, it shall clasp a sainted maiden whom the angels name Lenore. Clasp a rare and radiant maiden whom the angels name Lenore." Quoth the raven, "Nevermore." "Be that word our sign of parting, bird or fiend," I shrieked, upstarting. "Get thee back into the tempest and the night's Plutonian shore. Leave no black plume as a token of that lie thy soul hath spoken. Leave my loneliness unbroken. Quit the bust above my door. Take thy beak from out my heart, and take thy form from off my door." Quoth the raven, "Nevermore." And the raven, never flitting, still is sitting on the pallid bust of Pallas just above my chamber door. And his eyes have all the seeming of a demon's that is dreaming, and the lamplight o'er him streaming throws his shadow on the floor. And my soul from out that shadow that lies floating on the floor shall be lifted, nevermore. Published, 1845. The bells. 1. Hear the sledges with the bells. Silver bells. What a world of merriment their melody foretells, how they tinkle, 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 in the icy air of night, while the stars that oversprinkle all the heavens seem to twinkle with a crystalline delight, keeping time, in a sort of runic rhyme, to the tintinnabulation that so musically wells from the bells, 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 from the jingling and the tinkling of the bells. 2. Hear the mellow wedding bells, golden bells. What a world of happiness their harmony foretells. Through the balmy air of night, how they ring out their delight. From the molten golden notes, and all in tune, what a liquid ditty floats to the turtle dove that listens while she gloats on the moon. Oh, from out the sounding cells, what a gush of euphony voluminously wells, how it swells, how it dwells on the future, how it tells of the rapture that impels to the swinging and the ringing of the bells, 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 of the bells, 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 to the rhyming and the chiming of the bells. 3. Hear the loud alarum bells, brazen bells, what a tale of terror now their turbulency tells. In the startled ear of night, how they scream out their affright. Too much horrified to speak, they can only shriek, shriek out of tune, in a clamorous appealing to the mercy of the fire, in a mad expostulation with the deaf and frantic fire, leaping higher, 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 with a desperate desire, and a resolute endeavor now to sit, or never, by the side of the pale-faced moon. Oh, the bells, 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 what a tale their terror tells of despair, how they clang and clash and roar, what a horror they outpour on the bosom of the palpitating air. Yet the ear it fully knows, by the twanging and the clanging, how the danger ebbs and flows. Yet the ear distinctly tells, in the jangling and the wrangling, how the danger sinks and swells, by the sinking or the swelling in the anger of the bells, of the bells, of the bells, 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 bells. Insui, the clamor and the clangor of the bells. 4. Hear the tolling of the bells. Iron bells. What a world of solemn thought their monody compels. In the silence of the night, how we shiver with affright at the melancholy meaning of their tone. For every sound that floats from the rust within their throats is a groan. And the people, ah, the people, they that dwell up in the steeple, all alone, and who, tolling, 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 in that muffled monotone, feel a glory in so rolling on the human heart a stone. They are neither man nor woman. They are neither brute nor human. They are ghouls, and their king it is who tolls. And he rolls, 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 rolls a pan from the bells. And his merry bosom swells with the pain of the bells. And he dances, and he yells, keeping time, 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 in a sort of runic rhyme to the pain of the bells, keeping time, 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 in a sort of runic rhyme to the throbbing of the bells, 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 to the sobbing of the bells, keeping time, 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 as he knells, 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 in a happy runic rhyme to the rolling of the bells, 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 to the tolling of the bells, 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 to the moaning and the groaning of the bells. 1849, Ulalume. The skies they were ashen and sober. The leaves they were crisped and sere. The leaves they were withering and sere. It was night in the lonesome October of my most immemorial year. It was hard by the dim lake of Auber, in the misty mid-region of Weir. It was down by the dank tarn of Auber, in the ghoul-haunted woodland of Weir. Here once, through an alley titanic of cypress, I roamed with my soul. Of cypress, with Psyche, my soul. There were days when my heart was volcanic as the scoriac rivers that roll, as the lavas that restlessly roll their sulphurous currents down Yanek, in the ultimate climes of the pole, that groan as they roll down Mount Yanek in the realms of the boreal pole. Our talk had been serious and sober, but our thoughts they were palsied and sere. Our memories were treacherous and sere, for we knew not the month was October, and we marked not the night of the year. Ah, night of all nights in the year. We noted not the dim lake of Auber, though once we had journeyed down here. We remembered not the dank tarn of Auber, nor the ghoul-haunted woodland of Weir. And now, as the night was senescent, and star-dials pointed to morn, as the star-dials hinted of morn, at the end of our path a liquescent and nebulous luster was born, out of which a miraculous crescent arose with a duplicate horn. Astarte's Bediamonded crescent, distinct with its duplicate horn. And I said, she is warmer than Diane. She rolls through an ether of sighs. She revels in a region of sighs. She has seen that the tears are not dry on these cheeks, where the worm never dies, and has come past the stars of the lion, to point us the path to the skies, to the Lethean peace of the skies. Come up, in despite of the lion, to shine on us with her bright eyes. Come up through the lair of the lion, with love in her luminous eyes. But Psyche, uplifting her finger, said, sadly this star I mistrust. Her pallor I strangely mistrust. Ah, hasten. Ah, let us not linger. Ah, fly. Let us fly, for we must. In terror she spoke, letting sink her wings till they trailed in the dust. In agony sobbed, letting sink her plumes till they trailed in the dust. Till they sorrowfully trailed in the dust. I replied, this is nothing but dreaming. Let us on by this tremulous light. Let us bathe in this crystalline light. Its sibyllic splendor is beaming with hope and in beauty tonight. See, it flickers up the sky through the night. Ah, we safely may trust to its gleaming, and be sure it will lead us aright. We safely may trust to a gleaming that cannot but guide us aright. since it flickers up to heaven through the night. Thus I pacified Psyche and kissed her, and tempted her out of her gloom, and conquered her scruples and gloom, and we passed to the end of the vista, but were stopped by the door of a tomb, by the door of a legended tomb. And I said, "What is written, sweet sister, on the door of this legended tomb?" She replied, "Ulalume, Ulalume, 'tis the vault of thy lost Ulalume." Then my heart it grew ashen and sober as the leaves that were crisped and sere, as the leaves that were withering and sere, and I cried, it was surely October. On this very night of last year that I journeyed down here, that I brought a dread burden down here. On this night, of all nights in the year, ah, what demon has tempted me here? Well I know now, this dim lake of Auber, this misty mid-region of Weir. Well I know now, this dank tarn of Auber, this ghoul-haunted woodland of Weir. 1847. To Helen, I saw thee once only, years ago. I must not say how many, but not many. It was a July midnight, and from out a full-orbed moon, that like thine own soul, soaring, sought a precipitate pathway up through heaven, there fell a silvery silken veil of light, with quietude and sultriness and slumber, upon the upturned faces of 1,000 roses that grew in an enchanted garden, where no wind dared to stir, unless on tiptoe. Fell on the upturned faces of these roses that gave out, in return for the love-light, their odorous souls in an ecstatic death. Fell on the upturned faces of these roses, that smiled and died in this parterre, enchanted by thee, and by the poetry of thy presence, clad all in white. Upon a violet bank I saw thee half reclining, while the moon fell on the upturned faces of the roses, and on thine own, upturned, alas, in sorrow. Was it not fate, that on this July midnight, was it not fate, whose name is also sorrow, that bade me pause before that garden gate, to breathe the incense of those slumbering roses? No footsteps stirred, the hated world all slept, save only thee and me. O heaven, O God, how my heart beats in coupling those two words, save only thee and me. I paused, I looked, and in an instant, all things disappeared. Ah, bear in mind this garden was enchanted. The pearly luster of the moon went out. The mossy banks and the meandering paths, the happy flowers and the repining trees, were seen no more. The very roses' odors died in the arms of the adoring airs. All expired save thee, save less than thou, save only the divine light in thine eyes, save but the soul in thine uplifted eyes. I saw but them. They were the world to me. I saw but them, saw only them for hours, saw only them until the moon went down. What wild heart histories seem to lie enwritten upon those crystalline, celestial spheres! How dark a woe, yet how sublime a hope! How silently serene a sea of pride! How daring an ambition, yet how deep! How fathomless a capacity for love! But now, at length, dear Dian sank from sight into a western couch of thundercloud, and thou, a ghost, amid the entombing trees, didst glide away. Only thine eyes remained, they would not go, they never yet have gone. Lighting my lonely pathway home that night, they have not left me, as my hopes have since. They follow me, they lead me through the years. They are my ministers, yet I their slave. Their office is to illumine and enkindle, my duty, to be saved by their bright light, and purified in their electric fire, and sanctified in their Elysian fire. They fill my soul with beauty, which is hope, and are far up in heaven, the stars I kneel to in the sad, silent watches of my night, while even in the meridian glare of day I see them still, two sweetly scintillant Venuses, unextinguished by the sun. Annabel Lee. It was many and many a year ago, in a kingdom by the sea, that a maiden lived whom you may know by the name of Annabel Lee, and this maiden she lived with no other thought than to love and be loved by me. I was a child, and she was a child, in this kingdom by the sea, but we loved with a love that was more than love, I and my Annabel Lee, with a love that the winged seraphs of heaven coveted her and me. And this was the reason that long ago in this kingdom by the sea, a wind blew out of a cloud by night, chilling my Annabel Lee, so that her high-born kinsman came and bore her away from me, to shut her up, in a sepulchre in this kingdom by the sea. The angels, not half so happy in heaven, went envying her and me. Yes, that was the reason, as all men know, in this kingdom by the sea, that the wind came out of the cloud, chilling and killing my Annabel Lee. But our love, it was stronger by far than the love of those who were older than we, of many far wiser than we. And neither the angels in heaven above nor the demons down under the sea can ever dissever my soul from the soul of the beautiful Annabel Lee. For the moon never beams without bringing me dreams of the beautiful Annabel Lee. And the stars never rise but I see the bright eyes of the beautiful Annabel Lee. And so all the night tide, I lie down by the side of my darling, my life and my bride in her sepulchre there by the sea, in her tomb by the side of the sea. 1849. Of Valentine. For her this rhyme is penned, whose luminous eyes, brightly expressive as the twins of Leda, shall find her own sweet name, that nestling lies upon the page, enwrapped from every reader. Search narrowly the lines. They hold a treasure divine, a talisman, an amulet that must be worn at heart. Search well the measure, the words, the syllables. Do not forget the trivialest point, or you may lose your labor. And yet there is in this no Gordian knot, which one might not undo without a saber, if one could merely comprehend the plot. And written upon the leaf where now our peering eyes' scintillating soul, there lie perdues 3 eloquent words oft uttered in the hearing of poets by poets, as the name is a poet's too. Its letters, although naturally lying like the Knight Pinto, Mendez Ferdinando, still form a synonym for truth. Cease trying. You will not read the riddle, though you do the best you can do. 1846. An enigma. Seldom we find, says Solomon Don Dunce, half an idea in the profoundest sonnet. Through all the flimsy things we see at once as easily as through a Naples bonnet. Trash of all trash, how can a lady don it? Yet heavier far than your Petrarchan stuff. Owl downy nonsense that the faintest puff twirls into trunk paper the while you con it. And veritably, Sewell is right enough. The General Tucker Manatees are errant bubbles, ephemeral and so transparent. But this is, now, you may depend upon it, stable, opaque, immortal, all by dint of the dear names that lie concealed within 1847, to my mother. Because I feel that in the heavens above, the angels whispering to one another, can find, among their burning terms of love, none so devotional as that of mother. Therefore, by that dear name I long have called you. You who are more than mother unto me, and fill my heart of hearts, where death installed you in setting my Virginia spirit free. My mother, my own mother who died early, was but the mother of myself. But you are mother to the one I loved so dearly, and thus are dearer than the mother I knew by that infinity with which my wife was dearer to my soul than its soul life. 1849. For Annie. Thank heaven, the crisis. The danger is past, and the lingering illness is over at last. And the fever called living is conquered at last. Sadly, I know I am shorn of my strength, and no muscle I move as I lie at full length. But no matter, I feel I am better at length. And I rest so composedly, now in my bed, that any beholder might fancy me dead. Might start at beholding me, thinking me dead. The moaning and groaning, the sighing and sobbing are quieted now, with that horrible throbbing at heart. Ah, that horrible, horrible throbbing. The sickness, the nausea, the pitiless pain, have ceased, with the fever that maddened my brain, with the fever called living that burned in my brain. And oh, of all tortures that torture the worst has abated, the terrible torture of thirst for the naphthaline river of passion accursed. I have drank of a water that quenches all thirst, of a water that flows with a lullaby sound, from a spring but a very few feet underground, from a cavern not very far down underground. And ah, let it never be foolishly said that my room it is gloomy and narrow my bed, for man never slept in a different bed, and to sleep you must slumber in just such a bed. My tantalized spirit here blandly reposes, forgetting or never regretting its roses, its old agitations of myrtles and roses. For now, while so quietly lying, it fancies a holier odor about it, of pansies, a rosemary odor, commingled with pansies, with rue and the beautiful Puritan pansies. And so it lies happily, bathing in many, a dream of the truth and the beauty of Annie, drowned in a bath of the tresses of Annie. She tenderly kissed me, she fondly caressed, and then I fell gently to sleep on her breast, deeply to sleep from the heaven of her breast. When the light was extinguished, she covered me warm, and she prayed to the angels to keep me from harm, to the Queen of the angels to shield me from harm. And I lie so composedly, now in my bed, knowing her love, that you fancy me dead. And I rest so contentedly, now in my bed, with her love at my breast, that you fancy me dead. That you shudder to look at me, thinking me dead. But my heart, it is brighter than all of the many stars in the sky, for it sparkles with Annie. It glows with the light of the love of my Annie. With the thought of the light of the eyes of my Annie. 1849. To Fee. Beloved, amid the earnest woes that crowd around my earthly path, drear path, alas, where grows not even one lonely rose, my soul at least a solace hath in dreams of thee, and therein knows an Eden of bland repose. And thus thy memory is to me like some enchanted far-off isle in some tumultuous sea, some ocean throbbing far and free with storms, but where meanwhile serenest skies continually just o'er that one bright island smile. 1845. To Francis S. Osgood. Thou wouldst be loved, then let thy heart from its present pathway part not. Being everything which now thou art, be nothing which thou art not. So with the world thy gentle ways, thy grace, thy more than beauty, shall be an endless theme of praise and love, a simple duty. 1845. Eldorado. Gaily bedight, a gallant knight, in sunshine and in shadow, had journeyed long, singing a song, in search of Eldorado. But he grew old, this knight so bold, and o'er his heart a shadow fell, as he found no spot of ground that looked like Eldorado, and as his strength failed him at length, he met a pilgrim's shadow. Shadow, said he, where can it be, this land of Eldorado? Over the mountains of the moon, down the valley of the shadow, ride, boldly ride, the shade replied, if you seek for Eldorado. 1849. Eulalie I dwelt alone in a world of moan, and my soul was a stagnant tide, till the fair and gentle Eulalie became my blushing bride, till the yellow-haired young Eulalie became my smiling bride. Ah, less bright, the stars of the night than the eyes of the radiant girl, and never a flake that the vapor can make with the moon tints of purple and pearl, can vie with the modest Eulalie's most unregarded curl, can compare with the bright-eyed Eulalie's most humble and careless curl. Now doubt, now pain, come never again, for her soul gives me sigh for sigh, and all day long shines, bright and strong, Astarte within the sky, while ever to her dear Eulalie upturns her matron eye, while ever to her young Eulalie upturns her violet eye. 1845. A dream within a dream, take this kiss upon the brow, and, in parting from you now, thus much let me avow. You are not wrong, who deem that my days have been a dream. Yet if hope has flown away in a night, or in a day, in a vision or in none, is it therefore the less gone? All that we see or seem is but a dream within a dream. I stand amid the roar of a surf-tormented shore, and I hold within my hand grains of the golden sand. How few, yet how they creep through my fingers to the deep, while I weep, while I weep. O God, can I not grasp them with a tighter clasp? O God, can I not save one from the pitiless wave? Is all that we see or seem but a dream within a dream? 1849. To Marie-Louise, SHEW. Of all who hail thy presence as the morning, of all to whom thine absence is the night, the blotting utterly from out high heaven the sacred sun, of all who, weeping, bless thee hourly for hope, for life, ah, above all, for the resurrection of deep-buried faith in truth, in virtue, in humanity, of all who, on despair's unhallowed bed lying down to die, have suddenly arisen at thy soft murmured words, let there be light, at the soft murmured words that were fulfilled in the seraphic glancing of thine eyes, of all who owe thee most, whose gratitude nearest resembles worship, oh, remember the truest, the most fervently devoted. and think that these weak lines are written by him who, as he pens them, thrills to think his spirit is communing with an angel's. 1847. To Marie-Louise, SHEW. Not long ago, the writer of these lines, in the mad pride of intellectuality, maintained the power of words, denied that ever a thought arose within the human brain beyond the utterance of the human tongue. And now, as if in mockery of that boast, 2 words, 2 foreign soft dissyllables, Italian tones, made only to be murmured by angels dreaming in the moonlit dew that hangs like chains of pearl on Hermon Hill, have stirred from out the abysses of his heart, unthought-like thoughts that are the souls of thought, richer, far wider, far diviner visions than even the seraph harper, ISRAFEL, who has the sweetest voice of all God's creatures, could hope to utter. And I, my spells are broken. The pen falls powerless from my shivering hand. With thy dear name as text, though bidden by thee, I cannot write. I cannot speak or think. Alas, I cannot feel, for 'tis not feeling. This standing motionless upon the golden threshold of the wide-open gate of dreams, gazing, entranced, adown the gorgeous vista, and thrilling as I see, upon the right, upon the left, and all the way along, amid empurpled vapors, far away to where the prospect terminates, thee only. 1848. The City in the Sea. Lo, Death has reared himself a throne. In a strange city lying alone far down within the dim west, where the good and the bad and the worst and the best have gone to their eternal rest. Their shrines and palaces and towers, time-eaten towers that tremble not, resemble nothing that is ours. Around, by lifting winds forgot, resignedly beneath the sky, the melancholy waters lie. No rays from the holy heaven come down on the long night-time of that town, but light from out the lurid sea streams up the turrets silently, gleams up the pinnacles far and free, up domes, up spires, up kingly halls, up fanes, up Babylon-like walls, up shadowy long-forgotten bowers of sculptured ivy and stone flowers, up many and many a marvelous shrine whose wreathed friezes intertwine the vial, the violet and the vine. Resignedly beneath the sky the melancholy waters lie. So blend the turrets and shadows there that all seem pendulous in air, while from a proud tower in the town death looks gigantically down. There open fanes and gaping graves yawn level with the luminous waves, but not the riches there that lie in each idol's diamond eye, not the gaily jeweled dead tempt the waters from their bed, for no ripples curl, alas, along that wilderness of glass. No swellings tell that winds may be upon some far-off happier sea. No heavings hint that winds have been on seas less hideously serene. But lo, a stir is in the air. The wave, there is a movement there, as if the towers had thrown aside, in slightly sinking, the dull tide, as if their tops had feebly given a void within the filmy heaven. The waves have now a redder glow. The hours are breathing faint and low, and when, amid no earthly moans, down that town shall settle hence, hell, rising from 1,000 thrones, shall do it reverence. 1845. The Sleeper. At midnight in the month of June, I stand beneath the mystic moon. An opiate vapor, dewy, dim, exhales from out her golden rim, and softly dripping, drop by drop, upon the quiet mountain top, steals drowsily and musically into the universal valley. The rosemary nods upon the grave, the lily lolls upon the wave, wrapping the fog about its breast, the ruin moulders into rest, looking like Lethe sea, the lake. A conscious slumber seems to take, and would not, for the world, awake. All beauty sleeps, and lo, where lies, her casement open to the skies, Irene, with her destinies. O lady bright, can it be right? This window open to the night, the wanton airs from the tree-top, laughingly through the lattice drop. The bodiless airs, a wizard rout, flit through thy chamber in and out, and wave the curtain canopy so fitfully, so fearfully, above the closed and fringed lid, neath which thy slumbering soul lies hid, that o'er the floor and down the wall, like ghosts the shadows, rise and fall. O lady dear, hast thou no fear? Why and what art thou dreaming here? Sure thou art come o'er far-off seas, a wonder to these garden trees. Strange is thy pallor, strange thy dress, Strange above all thy length of tress, and this all solemn silentness. The lady sleeps. Oh, may her sleep, which is enduring, so be deep. Heaven have her in its sacred keep. This chamber changed for one more holy, this bed for one more melancholy. I pray to God that she may lie forever with unopened eye, while the dim sheeted ghosts go by. My love, she sleeps. Oh, may her sleep, as it is lasting, so be deep. Soft may the worms about her creep. Far in the forest, dim and old, for her may some tall vault unfold, some vault that oft hath flung its black and winged panels fluttering back, triumphant o'er the crested palls of her grand family funerals. Some sepulchre, remote, alone, against whose portal she hath thrown, in childhood, many an idle stone. Some tomb from out whose sounding door she ne'er shall force an echo more. Thrilling to think, poor child of sin, it was the dead who groaned within. 1845, Bridal Ballad. The ring is on my hand, and the wreath is on my brow. Satins and jewels grand are all at my command, and I am happy now. And my lord, he loves me well. But when first he breathed his vow, I felt my bosom swell. For the words rang as a knell, and the voice seemed his who fell in the battle down the dell, and who is happy now. But he spoke to reasure me, and he kissed my pallid brow, while a reverie came o'er me, and to the churchyard bore me, and I sighed to him before me, thinking him dead delore me. Oh, I am happy now. And thus the words were spoken, and thus the plighted vow. And though my faith be broken, and though my heart be broken, behold the golden token that proves me happy now. Would to God I could awaken, for I dream I know not how, and my soul is sorely shaken, lest an evil step be taken, lest the dead who is forsaken may not be happy now. 1845. Notes 1. The Raven was first published on the 29th of January 1845 in the New York Evening Mirror, a paper its author was then assistant editor of. It was prefaced by the following words, understood to have been written by N.P. Willis. We are permitted to copy, in advance of publication, from the second number of the American Review, the following remarkable poem by Edgar Poe. In our opinion, it is the most effective single example of fugitive poetry ever published in this country, and unsurpassed in English poetry for subtle conception, masterly ingenuity of versification, and consistent sustaining of imaginative lift and pokerishness. It is one of those dainties bred in a book which we feed on. It will stick to the memory of everybody who reads it. In the February number of the American Review, the poem was published as by Quarles, and it was introduced by the following note, evidently suggested if not written by Poe himself. The following lines from a correspondent, besides the deep, quaint strain of the sentiment, and the curious introduction of some ludicrous touches amidst the serious and impressive, as was doubtless intended by the author, appears to us one of the most felicitous specimens of unique rhyming which has for some time met our eye. The resources of English rhythm for varieties of melody, measure, and sound, producing corresponding diversities of effect, having been thoroughly studied, much more perceived, by very few poets in the language. While the classic tongues, especially the Greek, possess by power of accent several advantages for versification over our own, chiefly through greater abundance of spondaic feet, we have other and very great advantages of sound by the modern usage of rhyme. Alliteration is nearly the only effect of that kind which the ancients had in common with us. It will be seen that much of the melody of the Raven arises from alliteration and the studious use of similar sounds in unusual places. In regard to its measure, it may be noted that if all the verses were like the second, they might properly be placed merely in short lines, producing a not uncommon form. But the presence in all the others of one line, mostly the second in the verse, stanza, which flows continuously, with only an aspirate pause in the middle, like that before the short line in the Sapphic Adonic, while the fifth has at the middle pause no similarity of sound with any part besides, gives the versification an entirely different effect. We could wish the capacities of our noble language and prosody were better understood. Ed. M. Rev. 2. The bibliographical history of The Bells is curious. The subject and some lines of the original version, having been suggested by the poet's friend, Mrs. SHEW, Poe, when he wrote out the first draft of the poem, headed it, The Bells, by Mrs. M. A. SHEW. This draft, now the editor's property, consists of only 17 lines and read thus: The bells, ah, the bells, the little silver bells. How fairy-like a melody there floats from their throats, from their merry little throats, from the silver tinkling throats of the bells, 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 of the bells. 2. The bells, ah, the bells, the heavy iron bells. How horrible a monody there floats from their throats, from their deep-toned throats, from their melancholy throats. How I shudder at the notes of the bells, 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 of the bells. In the autumn of 1848, Poe added another line to this poem and sent it to the editor of the Union magazine. It was not published. So, in the following February, the poet forwarded to the same periodical a much enlarged and altered transcript. 3 months having elapsed without publication, another revision of the poem, similar to the current version, was sent, and in the following October was published in the Union magazine. 3. This poem was first published in Colton's American Review for December 1847 as To Ulalume, a Ballad. Being reprinted immediately in the Home Journal, it was copied into various publications with the name of the editor, N.P. Willis, appended, and was ascribed to him. When first published, it contained the following additional stanza which Poe subsequently, at the suggestion of Mrs. Whitman, wisely suppressed. Said we then, we too, then. Ah, can it have been that the woodlandish ghouls, the pitiful, the merciful ghouls, to bar up our path and to ban it from the secret that lies in these wolds, had drawn up the spectre of a planet from the limbo of lunary souls, this sinfully scintillant planet from the hell of the planetary souls. 4. To Helen, Mrs. S. Helen Whitman was not published until November 1848, although written several months earlier. It first appeared in the Union magazine, and with the omission, contrary to the knowledge or desire of Poe, of the line, "Oh God, oh Heaven, how my heart beats in coupling those two words." 5. Annabel Lee was written early in 1849, and is evidently an expression of the poet's undying love for his deceased bride, although at least one of his lady admirers deemed it a response to her admiration. Poe sent a copy of the ballad to the Union magazine, in which publication it appeared in January 1850, 3 months after the author's death. While suffering from hope deferred as to its fate, Poe presented a copy of Annabel Lee to the editor of the Southern Literary Messenger, who published it in the November number of his periodical, a month after Poe's death. In the meantime, the poet's own copy, left among his papers, passed into the hands of the person engaged to edit his works, and he quoted the poem in an obituary of Poe in the New York Tribune before anyone else had an opportunity of publishing it. 6. A Valentine, one of 3 poems addressed to Mrs. Osgood, appears to have been written early in 1846. 7. An Enigma, addressed to Mrs. Sarah Anna Lewis, Stella, was sent to that lady in a letter, in November 1847, and the following March appeared in Sarton's Union magazine. 8. The sonnet, To My Mother, Maria Clem, was sent for publication to the short-lived Flag of Our Union, early in 1849, but does not appear to have been issued until after its author's death, when it appeared in the Leaflets of Memory for 1850. 9. For Annie was first published in the Flag of Our Union, in the spring of 1849. Poe, annoyed at some misprints in this issue, shortly afterwards caused a corrected copy to be inserted in the Home Journal. 10. To F. Francis Sargent Osgood, appeared in the Broadway Journal for April 1845. These lines are but slightly varied from those inscribed to Mary in the Southern Literary Messenger for July 1835, and subsequently republished with the 2 stanzas transposed in Graham's Magazine for March 1842 as To One Departed. 11. To F. S. S. O. D. A portion of the poet's triune tribute to Mrs. Osgood was published in the Broadway Journal for September 1845. The earliest version of these lines appeared in the Southern Literary Messenger for September 1835, as lines written in an album, and was addressed to Eliza White, the proprietor's daughter. Slightly revised, the poem reappeared in Burton's Gentleman's Magazine for August 1839 as To I Sor White. 12. Although Eldorado was published during Poe's lifetime in 1849 in The Flag of Our Union, it does not appear to have ever received the author's finishing touches. Poems of Manhood, LENORE. Ah, broken is the golden bowl, the spirit flown forever. Let the bell toll. A saintly soul floats on the Stygian river. And Guy de Vere, hast thou no tear? Weep now or nevermore. See, on yon drear and rigid bier low lies thy love, Lenore. Come, let the burial rite be read, the funeral song be sung, an anthem for the queenliest dead that ever died so young. A dirge for her the doubly dead in that she died so young. To one in paradise. Thou wast all that to me, love, for which my soul did pine. A green isle in the sea, love, a fountain and a shrine, all wreathed with fairy fruits and flowers, and all the flowers were mine. Ah, dream too bright to last! Ah, starry hope, that didst arise but to be overcast! A voice from out the future cries, On, on! But o'er the past, dim gulf, my spirit hovering lies mute, motionless, aghast. For alas, alas with me, the light of life is o'er. No more, no more, no more. Such language holds the solemn sea to the sands upon the shore. Shall bloom the thunder-blasted tree, or the stricken eagle soar, and all my days are trances, and all my nightly dreams are where thy dark eye glances and where thy footstep gleams, in what ethereal dances by what eternal streams. 1835. The Colosseum, type of the antique Rome, rich reliquary of lofty contemplation left to time by buried centuries of pomp and power. At length, after so many days of weary pilgrimage and burning thirst for the springs of lore that in thee lie, I kneel, an altered and an humble man, amid thy shadows, and so drink within my very soul thy grandeur, gloom and glory, vastness and age and memories of eld, silence and desolation and dim night. I feel ye now, I feel ye in your strength, O spells, more sure than e'er Judean king taught in the gardens of Gethsemane. O charms more potent than the rapt Chaldee ever drew down from out the quiet stars. Here, where a hero fell, a column falls. Here, where the mimic eagle glared in gold, a midnight vigil holds the swarthy bat. Here, where the dames of Rome their gilded hair waved to the wind, now wave the reed and thistle. Here, where on golden throne the monarch lolled, glides, spectre-like, unto his marble home, lit by the wan light of the horned moon, the swift and silent lizard of the stones. But stay, these walls, these ivy-clad arcades, these mouldering plinths, these sad and blackened shafts, these vague entablatures, this crumbling frieze, these shattered cornices, this wreck, this ruin, these stones, alas, these grey stones, are they all of the famed, and the colossal left by the corrosive hours to fate and me? Not all, the echoes answer me, not all. Prophetic sounds and loud arise forever from us, and from all ruin. Unto the wise, as melody from Memnon to the sun, we rule the hearts of mightiest men. We rule with a despotic sway all giant minds. We are not impotent, we pallid stones. Not all our power is gone, not all our fame, not all the magic of our high renown, not all the wonder that encircles us, not all the mysteries that in us lie, not all the memories that hang upon and cling around about us as a garment, clothing us in a robe of more than glory. 1833. Now, let us hear the final verses. The haunted palace, in the greenest of our valleys, by good angels tenanted, once a fair and stately palace, radiant palace, reared its head, in the monarch thought's dominion. It stood there. Never seraph spread a pinion over fabric half so fair. Banners yellow, glorious, golden, on its roof did float and flow. This, all this, was in the olden time long ago. And every gentle air that dallied, in that sweet day, along the ramparts plumed and pallid, a winged odor went away. Wanderers in that happy valley, through two luminous windows, saw spirits moving musically, to a lute's well-tuned law, round about a throne where, sitting, Porphyrogene, in state his glory well befitting, the ruler of the realm was seen. and all with pearl and ruby glowing, was the fair palace door, through which came flowing, 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 and sparkling evermore, a troop of echoes, whose sweet duty was but to sing, in voices of surpassing beauty, the wit and wisdom of their king. But evil things in robes of sorrow assailed the monarch's high estate. Ah, let us mourn, for never morrow shall dawn upon him desolate. And round about his home the glory that blushed and bloomed is but a dim remembered story of the old time entombed. And travelers now within that valley, through the red-litten windows see vast forms that move fantastically to a discordant melody, while, like a ghastly rapid river, through the pale door a hideous throng rush out forever and laugh, but smile no more. 1838. The Conqueror Worm. Lo, 'tis a gala night within the lonesome latter years. An angel throng bewinged, bedight in veils, and drowned in tears, sit in a theatre, to see a play of hopes and fears. While the orchestra breathes fitfully the music of the spheres, mimes in the form of God on high mutter and mumble low, and hither and thither fly, mere puppets they who come and go at bidding of vast formless things that shift the scenery to and fro, flapping from out their condor wings, invisible woe. That motley drama, oh be sure it shall not be forgot, with its phantom chased for evermore, by a crowd that sees it not, through a circle that ever returneth in to the self-same spot, and much of madness, and more of sin, and horror the soul of the plot. But see, amid the mimic rout a crawling shape intrude, a blood-red thing that writhes from out the scenic solitude. It writhes, with mortal pangs, the mimes become its food, and the angels sob at vermin fangs in human gore imbued. Out are the lights, out all, and over each quivering form, the curtain, a funeral pall, comes down with the rush of a storm, and the angels all pallid and wan, uprising, unveiling, affirm that the play is the tragedy, man, and its hero the conqueror worm. 1838. Silence. There are some qualities, some incorporate things, that have a double life, which thus is made a type of that twin entity which springs from matter and light, evinced in solid and shade. There is a twofold silence, sea and shore, body and soul. One dwells in lonely places, newly with grass o'ergrown. Some solemn graces, some human memories and tearful lore, render him terrorless. His name's no more. He is the corporate silence, dread him not. No power hath he of evil in himself, but should some urgent fate, untimely lot, bring thee to meet his shadow, nameless elf, that haunteth the lone regions where hath trod no foot of man, commend thyself to God. 1840. Dreamland. By a route obscure and lonely, haunted by ill angels only, where an eidolon named Night on a black throne reigns upright. I have reached these lands but newly from an ultimate dim Thule, from a wild weird clime that lieth sublime out of space, out of time. Bottomless vales and boundless floods, and chasms and caves and Titan woods, with forms that no man can discover for the dews that drip all over. Mountains toppling evermore into seas without a shore, seas that restlessly aspire, surging unto skies of fire. Lakes that endlessly outspread their lone waters, lone and dead. Their still waters, still and chilly with the snows of the lolling lily. By the lakes that thus outspread their lone waters, lone and dead, their sad waters, sad and chilly with the snows of the lolling lily. By the mountains, near the river murmuring lowly, murmuring ever, by the grey woods, by the swamp where the toad and the newt encamp, by the dismal tarns and pools where dwell the ghouls, by each spot the most unholy, in each nook most melancholy. There the traveller meets aghast, sheeted memories of the past, shrouded forms that start and sigh as they pass. The wanderer by, white-robed forms of friends long given in agony to the earth and heaven. For the heart whose woes are legion, 'tis a peaceful, soothing region. For the spirit that walks in shadow, 'tis an Eldorado. But the traveller, travelling through it, may not, dare not openly view it. Never its mysteries are exposed to the weak human eye unclosed. So wills its king, who hath forbid the uplifting of the fringed lid, and thus the sad soul that here passes beholds it but through darkened glasses. By a route obscure and lonely, haunted by ill angels only, where an eidolon, named Night, on a black throne reigns upright, I have wandered home but newly from this ultimate dim Thule. 1844. Hymn. At morn, at noon, at twilight dim, Maria, thou hast heard my hymn, in joy and woe, in good and ill, Mother of God, be with me still. When the hours flew brightly by, and not a cloud obscured the sky, my soul, lest it should truant be, thy grace did guide to thine and thee. Now, when storms of fate o'ercast darkly my present and my past, let my future radiant shine with sweet hopes of thee and thine. 1835. Zante. Fair isle that from the fairest of all flowers, thy gentlest of all gentle names dost take how many memories of what radiant hours, at sight of thee and thine at once awake, how many scenes of what departed bliss, how many thoughts of what entombed hopes, how many visions of a maiden that is no more upon thy verdant slopes, no more, alas, that magical sad sound transforming all, thy charms shall please no more, thy memory no more. Accursed ground, henceforth I hold thy flower-enameled shore, O hyacinthine isle, O purple Zante. Isola d'Oro, Fior di Levante, 1837. Scenes from POLITIAN, an unpublished drama. 1. Rome. A hall in a palace, Alessandra and Castiglione. Alessandra. Thou art sad, Castiglione. Castiglione, sad, not I. Oh, I'm the happiest man in Rome. A few days more, thou knowest, my Alessandra, will make thee mine. Oh, I am very happy. Alas. Methinks thou hast a singular way of showing thy happiness. What ails thee, cousin of mine? Why didst thou sigh so deeply? Cass. Did I sign? I was not conscious of it. It is a fashion, a most silly fashion I have when I am very happy. Did I sigh? Sighing. Alas, thou didst. Thou art not well. Thou hast indulged too much of late, and I am vexed to see it. Late hours and wine, Castiglione. These will ruin thee. Thou art already altered. Thy looks are haggard. Nothing so wears away the constitution as late hours and wine. Cass. Musing. Nothing, fair cousin. Nothing. Not even deep sorrow. Wears it away like evil hours and wine. I will amend. Alas. Do it! I would have thee drop thy riotous company too, fellows low-born, ill-suit the like with old de Broglio's heir and Alessandra's husband. Cass. I will drop them. Alas, thou wilt, thou must. Attend thou also more to thy dress and equipage. They are overplain for thy lofty rank and fashion. Much depends upon appearances. Cass. I'll see to it. Alas. Then see to it. Pay more attention, sir, to a becoming carriage. Much thou wantest in dignity. Cass. Much. Oh, much I want in proper dignity. Alas, haughtily. Thou mockest me, sir. Cass. Abstractedly. Sweet, gentle Lalage. Alas. Heard I aright? I speak to him. He speaks of Lalage. Sir Count, places her hand on his shoulder. What art thou dreaming? He's not well. What ails thee, sir? Cass. Startling. Cousin, fair cousin. Madam, I crave thy pardon. Indeed I am not well. Your hand from off my shoulder, if you please. This air is most oppressive. Madam, the Duke. Enter Di Broglio. Di Broglio. My son, I've news for thee. Hey? What's the matter? Observing Alessandra. I the pouts? Kiss her, Castiglione. Kiss her, you dog, and make it up, I say, this minute. I've news for you both. Politian is expected hourly in Rome. Politian, Earl of Leicester. We'll have him at the wedding. 'Tis his first visit to the imperial city. Alas what? Politian of Britain, Earl of Leicester. Dybrug. The same, my love. We'll have him at the wedding. A man quite young in years, but grey in fame. I have not seen him, but rumour speaks of him as of a prodigy preeminent in arts and arms and wealth and high descent. We'll have him at the wedding. Alas, I have heard much of this Politian. Gay, volatile, and giddy, is he not? And little given to thinking. Dybrug. Far from it, love. No branch, they say, of all philosophy, so deep abstruse he has not mastered it. Learned as few are learned, alas. 'Tis very strange. I have known men have seen Politian and sought his company. They speak of him as of one who entered madly into life, drinking the cup of pleasure to the dregs. Cass. Ridiculous. Now I have seen Politian and know him well, nor learned nor mirthful he. He is a dreamer and a man shut out from common passions. Debrog children, we disagree. Let us go forth and taste the fragrant air of the garden. Did I dream, or did I hear Politian was a melancholy man? 2. Rome. A lady's apartment, with a window open and looking into a garden. Lalage, in deep mourning, reading at a table on which lie some books and a hand mirror. In the background, Jacinta, a servant maid, leans carelessly upon a chair. Lalage, Jacinta. Is it thou? Jacinta. Pertly. Yes, ma'am, I'm here. I did not know, Jacinta, you were in waiting. Sit down. Let not my presence trouble you. Sit down, for I am humble, most humble, Jack. Aside. 'Tis time. Jacinta seats herself in a sidelong manner upon the chair, resting her elbows upon the back, and regarding her mistress with a contemptuous look. Lalage continues to read. It in another climate, so he said, bore a bright golden flower, but not I this soil. Pauses, turns over some leaves, and resumes. No lingering winters there, nor snow nor shower. But ocean ever to refresh mankind, breathes the shrill spirit of the western wind. Oh, beautiful, most beautiful! How like to what my fevered soul doth dream of heaven! Oh, happy land! Pauses. She died, the maiden died. A still more happy maiden who couldst die. Jacinta. Jacinta returns no answer, and Lalage presently resumes. Again, a similar tale told of a beauteous dame beyond the sea. Thus speaketh one Ferdinand in the words of the play. She died full young, one Bosola answers him. I think not so. Her infelicity seemed to have years too many. Ah, luckless lady, Jacinta. Still no answer. Here's a far sterner story, but like, oh very like in its despair, of that Egyptian queen winning so easily 1,000 hearts, losing at length her own. She died. Thus endeth the history, and her maids lean over and weep. 2 gentle maids with gentle names. Iros and Charmian, Rainbow and Dove. Jacinta, Jack. Pettishly. Madam, what is it? Wilt thou, my good Jacinta, be so kind as go down in the library and bring me the Holy Evangelists, Jack. Pshaw, exit, If there be balm for the wounded spirit in Gilead, it is there. Dew in the night time of my bitter trouble will there be found. Dew sweeter far than that which hangs like chains of pearl on Hermon Hill. Re-enter Jacinta, and throws a volume on the table. There, ma'am, 's the book. Indeed, she is very troublesome. Aside. Astonished. What didst thou say, Jacinta? Have I done aught to grieve thee or to vex thee? I am sorry, for thou hast served me long, and ever been trustworthy and respectful. Resumes her reading. Jack. I can't believe she has any more jewels. No. She gave me all. Aside. What didst thou say, Jacinta? Now I bethink me thou hast not spoken lately of thy wedding. How fares good Ugo? And when is it to be? Can I do aught? Is there no farther aid thou needest, Jacinta? Jock. Is there no farther aid? That's meant for me. Aside. I'm sure, madam, you need not be always throwing those jewels in my teeth. Jewels. Jacinta. Now indeed, Jacinta, I thought not of the jewels. Jack. Oh, perhaps not. But then I might have sworn it. After all, there's Ugo says the ring is only paste, for he's sure the Count Castiglione never would have given a real diamond to such as you. And at the best I'm certain, madam, you cannot have use for jewels now. But I might have sworn it. Exit. Lalage bursts into tears and leans her head upon the table. After a short pause, raises it. Poor Lalage. And is it come to this? Thy servant maid, but courage, 'tis but a viper whom thou hast cherished to sting thee to the soul, taking up the mirror. Ha! Here at least's a friend. Too much a friend in earlier days. A friend will not deceive thee. fair mirror and true. Now tell me, for thou canst, a tale, a pretty tale, and heed thou not, though it be rife with woe. It answers me, it speaks of sunken eyes, and wasted cheeks, and beauty long deceased, remembers me of joy departed, hope, the seraph hope, inurned and entombed, now in a tone low, sad and solemn, but most audible, whispers of early grave untimely yawning for ruined maid. Fair mirror and true, thou liest not, thou hast no end to gain, no heart to break. Castiglione lied who said he loved, thou true, he false, false, false. While she speaks, a monk enters her apartment and approaches unobserved. Monk, refuge thou hast, sweet daughter, in heaven. Think of eternal things. Give up thy soul to penitence and pray. Lal, arising hurriedly. I cannot pray. My soul is at war with God. The frightful sounds of merriment below disturb my senses. Go, I cannot pray. The sweet airs from the garden worry me. Thy presence grieves me. Go. Thy priestly raiment fills me with dread, thy ebony crucifix with horror and awe. Monk, think of thy precious soul. Lal. Think of my early days, think of my father and mother in heaven. Think of our quiet home, and the rivulet that ran before the door. Think of my little sisters, think of them, and think of me. Think of my trusting love and confidence, his vows, my ruin. Think of my unspeakable misery. Begone, yet stay, yet stay. What was it thou saidst of prayer and penitence? Didst thou not speak of faith and vows before the throne? Monk, I did. Lal. 'Tis well. There is a vow where fitting should be made, a sacred vow, imperative and urgent, a solemn vow. Monk, daughter, this zeal is well. Lal. Father, this zeal is anything but well. Hast thou a crucifix fit for this thing? A crucifix whereon to register this sacred vow? He hands her his own. Not that. Oh, no, 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 shuddering. Not that, not that. I tell thee, holy man, thy raiments and thy ebony cross affright me. Stand back. I have a crucifix myself. I have a crucifix, methinks 'twere fitting the deed, the vow, the symbol of the deed, and the deed's register should tally, father. Draws a cross-handled dagger, and raises it on high. Behold the cross wherewith a vow like mine is written in heaven. Monk, thy words are madness, daughter, and speak a purpose unholy. Thy lips are livid, thine eyes are wild. Tempt not the wrath divine. Pause ere too late. Oh, be not rash. Swear not the oath. Oh, swear it not. Lal, 'tis sworn. 3. An apartment in a palace. Politian and Baldassar. Arouse thee now, Politian. Thou must not, nay, indeed, shalt not give way unto these humors. Be thyself. Shake off the idle fancies that beset thee, and live, for now thou diest. Politian. Not so, Baldassar. Surely I live. Bal. Politian, it doth grieve me to see thee thus. Pol. Baldassar, it doth grieve me to give thee cause for grief, my honored friend. Command me, sir. What wouldst thou have me do? At thy behest I will shake off that nature which from my forefathers I did inherit, which with my mother's milk I did imbibe, and be no more Politian, but some other. Command me, sir. Bal. To the field, then, to the field, to the Senate or the field. Paul, alas, alas, there is an imp would follow me even there. There is an imp hath followed me even there. There is, what voice was that? Bal. I heard it not. I heard not any voice except thine own, and the echo of thine own. Pol, then I but dreamed. Bal. Give not thy soul to dreams. The camp, the court, befit thee. Fame awaits thee. Glory calls. And her the trumpet tongue thou wilt not hear in hearkening to imaginary sounds and phantom voices. Pol. It is a phantom voice. Didst thou not hear it then? Bal. I heard it not. Pol. Thou heardst it not. Baldassar, speak no more to me, Politian, of thy camps and courts. Oh, I am sick, even unto death, of the hollow and high-sounding vanities of the populous earth. Bear with me yet a while. We have been boys together, schoolfellows, and now are friends, yet shall not be so long. For in the eternal city thou shalt do me a kind and gentle office, and a power august, benignant and supreme, shall then absolve thee of all further duties unto thy friend. Bal, thou speakest a fearful riddle I will not understand. Pol. Yet now, as fate approaches, and the hours are breathing low, the sands of time are changed to golden grains, and dazzle me, Baldassar. Alas, alas, I cannot die, having within my heart so keen a relish for the beautiful as hath been kindled within it. Methinks the air is balmier now than it was wont to be. Rich melodies are floating in the winds. A rarer loveliness bedecks the earth, and with a holier lustre the quiet moon sitteth in heaven. Hist, hist! Thou canst not say thou hearest not now, Baldassar? Bal, indeed I hear not. Paul, not hear it. Listen now, listen. The faintest sound, and yet the sweetest that ear ever heard. A lady's voice, and sorrow in the tone. Baldassar, it oppresses me like a spell. Again, again, how solemnly it falls into my heart of hearts. That eloquent voice, surely I never heard. Yet it were well, had I but heard it with its thrilling tones in earlier days. Bal, I myself hear it now. Be still. The voice, if I mistake not greatly, proceeds from yonder lattice, which you may see very plainly through the window. It belongs, does it not, unto this palace of the Duke. The singer is undoubtedly beneath the roof of his Excellency, and perhaps is even that Alessandra of whom he spoke as the betrothed of Castiglione, his son and heir. Pollum, be still, it comes again. Voice, and is thy heart so strong, very faintly, as for to leave me thus, who hath loved thee so long in wealth and woe among? And is thy heart so strong as for to leave me thus? Say nay, say nay. Bal, the song is English, and I oft have heard it in merry England, never so plaintively. Hist, hist, it comes again. Voice, is it so strong, more loudly, as for to leave me thus, who hath loved thee so long in wealth and woe among? And is thy heart so strong as for to leave me thus? Say nay, say nay. Bal, 'tis hushed and all is still. Pol, all is not still. Bal, let us go down. Pol, go down, Baldassar. Go. Bal, the hour is growing late, the Duke awaits use. Thy presence is expected in the hall below. What ails thee, Earl Politian? Voice, who hath loved thee so long distinctly, in wealth and woe among, and is thy heart so strong? Say nay, say nay. Bal, let us descend, 'tis time. Politian, give these fancies to the wind. Remember, pray, your bearing lately savoured much of rudeness unto the Duke. Arouse thee, and remember Paul. Remember? I do. Lead on, I do remember. Going. Let us descend. Believe me, I would give, freely would give the broad lands of my earldom to look upon the face hidden by yon lattice, to gaze upon that veiled face, and hear once more that silent tongue. Bal, let me beg you, sir, descend with me. The Duke may be offended. Let us go down, I pray you. Voice loudly. Say nay, say nay. Pol. Aside. 'Tis strange, 'tis very strange. Methought the voice chimed in with my desires, and bade me stay. Approaching the window. Sweet voice, I heed thee, and will surely stay. Now be this fancy by heaven, or be it fate, still will I not descend. Baldassar, make apology unto the Duke for me. I go not down tonight. Bal, your lordship's pleasure shall be attended to. Good night, Politian. Pol. Good night, my friend, good night. 4. The Gardens of a Palace. Moonlight, Lalage, and Politian. Lalage. And dost thou speak of love to me, Politian? Dost thou speak of love to Lalage? Ah, woe is me. This mockery is most cruel indeed. Politian. Weep not, O sob not thus. Thy bitter tears will madden me. O mourn not, Lalage, be comforted. I know it all, and still I speak of love. Look at me, brightest and beautiful Lalage. Turn here thine eyes. Thou askest me if I could speak of love, knowing what I know, and seeing what I have seen. Thou askest me that, and thus I answer thee. Thus on my bended knee I answer thee, kneeling. Sweet Lalage, I love thee, love thee, love thee. Through good and ill, through weal and woe I love thee. Not mother, with her firstborn on her knee, thrills with intenser love than I for thee. Not on God's altar, in any time or clime, burned there a holier fire than burneth now within my spirit for thee. And do I love, arising. Even for thy woes I love thee, even for thy woes, thy beauty and thy woes, lol. Alas, proud Earl, thou dost forget thyself remembering me. How, in thy father's halls, among the maidens pure and reproachless of thy princely line, could the dishonored Lalage abide? Thy wife, and with a tainted memory, my seared and blighted name, how would it tally with the ancestral honors of thy house, and with thy glory? Pole, speak not to me of glory. I hate, I loathe the name. I do abhor the unsatisfactory and ideal thing. Art thou not Lalage and I Politian? Do I not love? Art thou not beautiful? What need we more? Ha, glory, now speak not of it. By all I hold most sacred and most solemn, by all my wishes now, my fears hereafter, by all I scorn on earth and hope in heaven. There is no deed I would more glory in, than in thy cause to scoff at this same glory and trample it under foot. What matters it? What matters it, my fairest and my best, that we go down unhonored and forgotten into the dust, so we descend together. Descend together, and then, perchance, lol. Why dost thou pause, Politian? Pole. And then, perchance arise together, Lalage, and roam the starry and quiet dwellings of the blessed, and still, lol. Why dost thou pause, Politian? Pole. And still together, lol. Now, Earl of Leicester, thou lovest me, and in my heart of hearts I feel thou lovest me truly. Pole. O Lalage, throwing himself upon his knee, and lovest thou me? Lal. Hist. Hush. Within the gloom of yonder trees methought a figure passed. A spectral figure, solemn and slow and noiseless, like the grim shadow Conscience, solemn and noiseless. Walks across and returns. I was mistaken. 'Twas but a giant bough stirred by the autumn wind. Politian. Pole. My Lalage, my love, why art thou moved? Why dost thou turn so pale? Not Conscience self, far less a shadow which thou likenest to it, should shake the firm spirit thus. But the night wind is chilly, and these melancholy boughs throw over all things a gloom. Lol, Politian, thou speakest to me of love, to me of... Knowest thou the land with which all tongues are busy? A land new found, miraculously found by one of Genoa, 1,000 leagues within the golden west? A fairyland of flowers, and fruit, and sunshine, and crystal lakes, and overarching forests, and mountains, around whose towering summits the winds of heaven untrammeled flow, which air to breathe is happiness now, and will be freedom hereafter in days that are to come. Pole. Oh, wilt thou fly to that paradise, my Lalage? Wilt thou fly thither with me? There care shall be forgotten, and sorrow shall be no more, and Eros be all. And life shall then be mine, for I will live for thee, and in thine eyes, and thou shalt be no more a mourner, but the radiant joys shall wait upon thee, and the angel hope attend thee ever, and I will kneel to thee and worship thee, and call thee my beloved, my own, my beautiful, my love, my wife, my all. Oh, wilt thou, Lalage, fly thither with me? Lol, a deed is to be done. Castiglione lives, Pole, and he shall die. Exit. Lol, after a pause, and he shall die. Alas, Castiglione die. Who spoke the words? Where am I? What was it he said? Politian, thou art not gone. Thou art not gone, Politian. I feel thou art not gone, yet dare not look, lest I behold thee not. Thou couldst not go with those words upon thy lips. Oh, speak to me, and let me hear thy voice. One word, to say thou art not gone. One little sentence, to say how thou dost scorn, how thou dost hate my womanly weakness. Ha, thou art not gone. Oh, speak to me. I knew thou wouldst not go. I knew thou wouldst not, couldst not, durst not go. Villain, thou art not gone. Thou mockest me, and thus I clutch thee. Thus, he is gone, gone. Where am I? 'Tis well, 'tis very well. So that the blade be keen, the blow be sure. 'Tis well, 'Tis very well. Alas, alas. 5. The suburbs. Pollution alone. Pollution. This weakness grows upon me. I am faint, and much I fear me ill. It will not do to die ere I have lived. Stay, stay thy hand, O Azrael, yet a while. Prince of the powers of darkness and the tomb. O pity me, O pity me. Let me not perish now, in the budding of my paradisal hope. Give me to live yet a little while. 'Tis I who pray for life, I who so late demanded but to die. What saith the Count? Enter Baldassar. Baldassar, that knowing no cause of quarrel or of feud between the Earl Politian and himself, he doth decline your cartel. Paul, what didst thou say? What answer was it you brought me, good Baldassar? With what excessive fragrance the zephyr comes laden from yonder bowers, a fairer day, or one more worthy Italy methinks no mortal eyes have seen. What said the Count? Bal. That he, Castiglione, not being aware of any feud existing, or any cause of quarrel between your lordship and himself, cannot accept the challenge. Paul. It is most true. All this is very true. When saw you, sir? When saw you now, Baldassar, in the frigid ungenial Britain which we left so lately, a heaven so calm as this, so utterly free from the evil taint of clouds? And he did say, Bal. No more, my lord, than I have told you, sir. The Count Castiglione will not fight, having no cause for quarrel. Paul. Now this is true, all very true. Thou art my friend, Baldassar, and I have not forgotten it. Thou'lt do me a piece of service. Wilt thou go back and say unto this man that I, the Earl of Leicester, hold him a villain? Thus much, I pry thee, say unto the Count. It is exceeding just he should have cause for quarrel. Bal. My lord, my friend. Paul. Aside. 'Tis he. He comes himself? Aloud. Thou reasonest well. I know what thou wouldst say. Not send the message. Well, I will think of it. I will not send it. Now, prythee, leave me. Hither doth come a person with whom affairs of a most private nature I would adjust. Bal. I go. Tomorrow we meet, do we not? At the Vatican. Paul. At the Vatican. Exit Bal. Enter Castiglione. Cass. The Earl of Leicester here. Paul. I am the Earl of Leicester, and thou seest, dost thou not, that I am here, Cass? My lord, some strange, some singular mistake, misunderstanding, hath without doubt arisen. Thou hast been urged thereby in heat of anger, to address some words most unaccountable in writing, to me, Castiglione, the bearer being Baldassar, Duke of Surrey. I am aware of nothing which might warrant thee in this thing, having given thee no offence. Ha! Am I right? 'Twas a mistake? Undoubtedly. We all do err at times. Polier, draw, villain, and prate no more. Cass. Ha! Draw, and villain. Have it thee then at once, proud Earl. Draws. Paul. Drawing. Thus to the expiatory tomb, untimely sepulchre, I do devote thee in the name of Lalage. Cass. Letting fall his sword and recoiling to the extremity of the stage. Of Lalage. Hold off thy sacred hand. Avaunt, I say. Avaunt. I will not fight thee, indeed I dare not. Paul. Thou wilt not fight with me, didst say, Sir Count. Shall I be baffled thus? Now this is well. Didst say thou darest not? Ha, Cass. I dare not, hold off thy hand, with that beloved name, so fresh upon thy lips, I will not fight thee. I cannot, dare not. Paul. Now by my halidom I do believe thee. Coward, I do believe thee. Cass. Ha! Coward, this may not be. Clutches his sword and staggers towards Politian. But his purpose is changed before reaching him, and he falls upon his knee at the feet of the Earl. Alas, my lord, it is most true. In such a cause I am the veriest coward. Oh, pity me. Paul. Greatly softened. Alas, I do, indeed I pity thee. Cass. And Lalage, Polarm scoundrel, arise and die. Cass. It needeth not be, thus, oh let me die thus on my bended knee. It were most fitting that in this deep humiliation I perish. For in the fight I will not raise a hand against thee, Earl of Leicester. Strike thou home, bearing his bosom. Here is no let or hindrance to thy weapon. Strike home. I will not fight thee, Paul. Now's death and hell. Am I not sorely, grievously tempted to take thee at thy word? But mark me, sir, think not to fly me thus. Do thou prepare for public insult in the streets, before the eyes of the citizens. I'll follow thee like an avenging spirit, I'll follow thee even unto death. Before those whom thou lovest, before all Rome I'll taunt thee, villain, I'll taunt thee, dost hear? With cowardice, thou wilt not fight me, thou liest, thou shalt. Exit. Cass. Now this indeed is just, most righteous, and most just. Avenging heaven. Note 29. Such portions of POLITIAN as are known to the public first saw the light of publicity in the Southern Literary Messenger for December 1835 and January 1836, being styled Scenes from POLITIAN, an unpublished drama. These scenes were included, unaltered, in the 1845 collection of poems by Poe. The larger portion of the original draft subsequently became the property of the present editor, but it is not considered just to the poet's memory to publish it. The work is a hasty and unrevised production of its author's earlier days of literary labor, and beyond the scenes already known, scarcely calculated to enhance his reputation. As a specimen, however, of the parts unpublished, the following fragment from the first scene of Act 2 may be offered. The Duke, it should be premised, is uncle to Alessandra, and father of Castiglione, her betrothed. Duke. Why do you laugh? Castiglione. Indeed, I hardly know myself. Stay. Was it not? On yesterday we were speaking of the Earl? Of the Earl POLITIAN? Yes. It was yesterday. Alessandra, you and one, you must remember. We were walking in the garden. Duke. Perfectly. I do remember it. What of it? What then? Cass. Oh, nothing at all. Duke. Nothing at all. It is most singular that you should laugh at nothing at all. Cass. Most singular. Duke. Look you, Castiglione, be so kind as tell me, sir, at once, what 'tis you mean. What are you talking of? Cass. Was it not so? We differed in opinion touching him. Duke. Him. Whom? Cass. Why, sir, the Earl POLITIAN. Duke. The Earl of Leicester. Yes. Is it he you mean? We differed indeed. If I now recollect, the words you used were that the Earl you knew was neither learned nor mirthful. Cass. Ha, ha. Now did I? Duke. That did you, sir, and well I knew at the time you were wrong, it being not the character of the Earl whom all the world allows to be a most hilarious man. Be not, my son, too positive again. Cass. 'Tis singular, most singular. I could not think it possible so little time could so much alter one. To say the truth, about an hour ago, as I was walking with the Count Sanozzo, all arm in arm, we met this very man, the Earl, he, with his friend Baldassar, having just arrived in Rome. Hal, ha! He is altered. Such an account he gave me of his journey, 'twould have made you die with laughter. Such tales he told of his caprices and his merry freaks along the road. Such oddity, such humor, such wit, such whim, such flashes of wild merriment, set off too in such full relief by the grave demeanor of his friend, who, to speak the truth, was gravity itself. Duke. Did I not tell you? Cass. You did, and yet 'tis strange. But true as strange, how much I was mistaken. I always thought the Earl a gloomy man. Duke. So you see. Be not too positive. Whom have we here? It cannot be the Earl. Cass. The Earl. Oh no. 'Tis not the Earl. But yet it is, and leaning upon his friend Baldassar. Welcome, sir. Enter POLITIAN and Baldassar. My lord, a second welcome let me give you to Rome, his Grace the Duke of Broglio. Father. This is the Earl POLITIAN, Earl of Leicester in Great Britain. POLITIAN bows haughtily. That, his friend Baldassar, Duke of Surrey. The Earl has letters, so please you for your grace. Duke. Hal, ha. Most welcome to Rome and to our palace, Earl POLITIAN. And you, most noble Duke. I am glad to see you. I knew your father well, my lord POLITIAN. Castiglione. Call your cousin hither, and let me make the noble Earl acquainted with your betrothed. You come, sir, at a time most seasonable. The wedding. POLITIAN. Touching those letters, sir, your son made mention of, your son, is he not? Touching those letters, sir, I wot not of them. If such there be, my friend Baldassar here. Baldassar. Ah, My friend Baldassar here will hand them to your grace. I would retire. Duke. Retire. So soon? Came what ho, Benito, Rupert. His lordship's chambers, show his lordship to them. His lordship is unwell. Enter Benito. Ben. This way, my lord. Exit, followed by Politian. Duke. Retire. Unwell. Bow. So please you, sir. I fear me, 'tis as you say, his lordship is unwell. The damp air of the evening, the fatigue of a long journey, indeed I had better follow his lordship. He must be unwell. I will return anon. Duke, return anon. Now this is very strange. Castiglione. This way, my son, I wish to speak with thee. You surely were mistaken in what you said of the Earl, mirthful indeed. Which of us said Politian was a melancholy man? Exeunt. Poems of Youth, Introduction to Poems, 1831. Letter to Mr. B. West Point, 1831. Dear B. Believing only a portion of my former volume to be worthy a second edition, that small portion I thought it as well to include in the present book as to republish by itself. I have therefore herein combined AARAAF and TAMERLANE with other poems hitherto unprinted, nor have I hesitated to insert from the minor poems, now omitted, whole lines, and even passages, to the end that being placed in a fairer light, and the trash shaken from them in which they were embedded, they may have some chance of being seen by posterity. It has been said that a good critique on a poem may be written by one who is no poet himself. This, according to your idea and mine of poetry, I feel to be false. The less poetical the critic, the less just the critique, and the converse. On this account, and because there are but few bees in the world, I would be as much ashamed of the world's good opinion as proud of your own. Another than yourself might here observe, Shakespeare is in possession of the world's good opinion, and yet Shakespeare is the greatest of poets. It appears then that the world judge correctly. Why should you be ashamed of their favorable judgment? The difficulty lies in the interpretation of the word judgment or opinion. The opinion is the world's, truly, but it may be called theirs as a man would call a book his, having bought it. He did not write the book, but it is his. They did not originate the opinion, but it is theirs. A fool, for example, thinks Shakespeare a great poet. Yet the fool has never read Shakespeare. But the fool's neighbor, who is a step higher on the Andes of the mind, whose head, that is to say his more exalted thought, is too far above the fool to be seen or understood, but whose feet, by which I mean his everyday actions, are sufficiently near to be discerned, and by means of which that superiority is ascertained, which but for them would never have been discovered. This neighbor asserts that Shakespeare is a great poet. The fool believes him, and it is henceforward his opinion. This neighbor's own opinion has, in like manner, been adopted from one above him, and so, ascendingly, to a few gifted individuals who kneel around the summit, beholding, face to face, the master spirit who stands upon the pinnacle. You are aware of the great barrier in the path of an American writer. He is read, if at all, in preference to the combined and established wit of the world. I say established, for it is with literature as with law or empire. An established name is an estate in tenure, or a throne in possession. Besides, one might suppose that books, like their authors, improve by travel. Their having crossed the sea is, with us, so great a distinction. Our antiquaries abandon time for distance. Our very fops glance from the binding to the bottom of the title page, where the mystic characters which spell London, Paris, or Genoa are precisely so many letters of recommendation. I mentioned just now a vulgar error as regards criticism. I think the notion that no poet can form a correct estimate of his own writings is another. I remarked before that in proportion to the poetical talent would be the justice of a critique upon poetry. Therefore, a bad poet would, I grant, make a false critique, and his self-love would infallibly bias his little judgment in his favor. But a poet, who is indeed a poet, could not, I think, fail of making a just critique. Whatever should be deducted on the score of self-love might be replaced on account of his intimate acquaintance with the subject. In short, we have more instances of false criticism than of just where one's own writings are the test, simply because we have more bad poets than good. There are, of course, many objections to what I say. Milton is a great example of the contrary, but his opinion with respect to the Paradise Regained is by no means fairly ascertained. By what trivial circumstances men are often led to assert what they do not really believe. Perhaps an inadvertent word has descended to posterity, but in fact, the paradise regained is little, if at all, inferior to the paradise lost, and is only supposed so to be because men do not like epics, whatever they may say to the contrary, and reading those of Milton in their natural order, are too much wearied with the first to derive any pleasure from the second. I dare say Milton preferred Comus to either. If so, justly. As I am speaking of poetry, it will not be amiss to touch slightly upon the most singular heresy in its modern history, the heresy of what is called, very foolishly, the Lake School. Some years ago, I might have been induced, by an occasion like the present, to attempt a formal refutation of their doctrine. At present it would be a work of supererogation. The wise must bow to the wisdom of such men as Coleridge and Southey, but being wise, have laughed at poetical theories so prosaically exemplified. Aristotle, with singular assurance, has declared poetry the most philosophical of all writings. But it required a Wordsworth to pronounce it the most metaphysical. He seems to think that the end of poetry is, or should be, instruction. Yet it is a truism that the end of our existence is happiness. If so, the end of every separate part of our existence, everything connected with our existence, should be still happiness. Therefore, the end of instruction should be happiness, and happiness is another name for pleasure. Therefore, the end of instruction should be pleasure. Yet we see the above-mentioned opinion implies precisely the reverse. To proceed. Ceteris paribus, he who pleases is of more importance to his fellow men than he who instructs, since utility is happiness, and pleasure is the end already obtained, which instruction is merely the means of obtaining. I see no reason, then, why our metaphysical poets should plume themselves so much on the utility of their works, unless indeed they refer to instruction with eternity in view. In which case, sincere respect for their piety would not allow me to express my contempt for their judgment. Contempt which it would be difficult to conceal, since their writings are professedly to be understood by the few, and it is the many who stand in need of salvation. In such case, I should no doubt be tempted to think of the devil in Melmoth, who labors indefatigably, through 3 octavo volumes, to accomplish the destruction of 1 or 2 souls, while any common devil would have demolished 1 or 2,000. Against the subtleties which would make poetry a study, not a passion, it becomes the metaphysician to reason, but the poet to protest. Yet Wordsworth and Coleridge are men in years, the one imbued in contemplation from his childhood, the other a giant in intellect and learning. The diffidence, then, with which I venture to dispute their authority would be overwhelming did I not feel, from the bottom of my heart, that learning has little to do with the imagination, intellect with the passions, or age with poetry. Trifles like straws upon the surface flow. He who would search for pearls must dive below, are lines which have done much mischief. As regards the greater truths, men oftener err by seeking them at the bottom than at the top. Truth lies in the huge abysses where wisdom is sought, not in the palpable palaces where she is found. The ancients were not always right in hiding the goddess in a well. Witness the light which Bacon has thrown upon philosophy. Witness the principles of our divine faith, that moral mechanism by which the simplicity of a child may overbalance the wisdom of a man. We see an instance of Coleridge's liability to err in his Biographia Literaria, professedly his literary life and opinions, but in fact, a treatise de omni scibili et quibus damalis. He goes wrong by reason of his very profundity, and of his error we have a natural type in the contemplation of a star. He who regards it directly and intensely sees, it is true, the star, but it is the star without a ray, while he who surveys it less inquisitively is conscious of all for which the star is useful to us below, its brilliancy and its beauty. As to Wordsworth, I have no faith in him. That he had in youth the feelings of a poet, I believe, for there are glimpses of extreme delicacy in his writings, and delicacy is the poet's own kingdom, his Eldorado. But they have the appearance of a better day recollected, and glimpses, at best, are little evidence of present poetic fire. We know that a few straggling flowers spring up daily in the crevices of the glacier. He was to blame in wearing away his youth in contemplation with the end of poetizing in his manhood. With the increase of his judgment, the light which should make it apparent has faded away. His judgment, consequently, is too correct. This may not be understood, but the old Goths of Germany would have understood it, who used to debate matters of importance to their state twice, once when drunk, and once when sober that they might not be deficient in formality, drunk lest they should be destitute of vigor. The long wordy discussions by which he tries to reason us into admiration of his poetry speak very little in his favor. They are full of such assertions as this: I have opened one of his volumes at random. Of genius the only proof is the act of doing well what is worthy to be done and what was never done before. Indeed, then it follows that in doing what is unworthy to be done, or what has been done before, no genius can be evinced. Yet the picking of pockets is an unworthy act. Pockets have been picked time immemorial, and Barrington, the pickpocket, in point of genius, would have thought hard of a comparison with William Wordsworth, the poet. Again, in estimating the merit of certain poems, whether they be Ossian's or Macpherson's, can surely be of little consequence. Yet, in order to prove their worthlessness, Mr. W. has expended many pages in the controversy. Tantain animus? Can great minds descend to such absurdity? But worse still, that he may bear down every argument in favor of these poems, he triumphantly drags forward a passage in his abomination with which he expects the reader to sympathize. It is the beginning of the epic poem Temora. The blue waves of Ullin roll in light. The green hills are covered with day. Trees shake their dusty heads in the breeze. And this gorgeous yet simple imagery, where all is alive and panting with immortality, this William Wordsworth, the author of Peter Bell, has selected for his contempt. We shall see what better he, in his own person, has to offer. Imprimis. And now she's at the pony's tail, and now she's at the pony's head, on that side now, and now on this. And almost stifled with her bliss, a few sad tears does Betty shed. She pats the pony, where or when she knows not. Happy Betty Foy, oh Johnny, never mind the doctor. Secondly, the dew was falling fast, the stars began to blink. I heard a voice, it said, "Drink, pretty creature, drink." And looking o'er the hedge, before me I espied a snow-white mountain lamb, with a maiden at its side. No other sheep was near. The lamb was all alone, and by a slender cord was tethered to a stone. Now we have no doubt this is all true. We will believe it, indeed we will, Mr. W. Is it sympathy for the sheep you wish to excite? I love a sheep from the bottom of my heart. But there are occasions, dear B. There are occasions when even Wordsworth is reasonable. Even Stambul, it is said, shall have an end, and the most unlucky blunders must come to a conclusion. Here is an extract from his preface. Those who have been accustomed to the phraseology of modern writers, if they persist in reading this book to a conclusion, impossible, will, no doubt, have to struggle with feelings of awkwardness. Ha, ha, ha. They will look round for poetry. Ha, 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 ha. And will be induced to inquire by what species of courtesy these attempts have been permitted to assume that title. Ha, 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 ha. Yet let not Mr. W. despair. He has given immortality to a wagon, and the bee Sophocles has transmitted to eternity a sore toe, and dignified a tragedy with a chorus of turkeys. Of Coleridge, I cannot speak but with reverence, his towering intellect, his gigantic power. To use an author quoted by himself, t'as trouvé souvent que la plupart des sectes ont raison dans une bonne partie de ce qu'elles avancent, mais non pas en ce qu'elles nient. And to employ his own language, he has imprisoned his own conceptions by the barrier he has erected against those of others. It is lamentable to think that such a mind should be buried in metaphysics, and, like the Nectanthes, waste its perfume upon the night alone. In reading that man's poetry, I tremble like one who stands upon a volcano, conscious from the very darkness bursting from the crater, of the fire and the light that are weltering below. What is poetry? Poetry, that Proteus-like idea, with as many appellations as the 9-titled Corsaira. Give me, I demanded of a scholar some time ago, give me a definition of poetry. Très volontiers. And he proceeded to his library, brought me a Dr. Johnson, and overwhelmed me with a definition. Shade of the immortal Shakespeare. I imagine to myself the scowl of your spiritual eye upon the profanity of that scurrilous Ursa Major. Think of poetry, dear B. Think of poetry. And then think of Dr. Samuel Johnson. Think of all that is airy and fairy-like, and then of all that is hideous and unwieldy. Think of his huge bulk, the elephant, and then think of the Tempest, the Midsummer Night's Dream, Prospero Oberon and Titania. A poem, in my opinion, is opposed to a work of science by having, for its immediate object, pleasure, not truth. To romance by having, for its object, an indefinite instead of a definite pleasure, being a poem only so far as this object is attained. Romance presenting perceptible images with definite, poetry with indefinite sensations, to which end music is an essential, since the comprehension of sweet sound is our most indefinite conception. Music, when combined with a pleasurable idea, is poetry. Music, without the idea, is simply music. The idea why that the music is prose, from its very definitiveness. What was meant by the invective against him who had no music in his soul? To sum up this long rigmarole, I have, dear B, what you no doubt perceive, for the metaphysical poets as poets, the most sovereign contempt. That they have followers proves nothing. No Indian prince has to his palace more followers than a thief to the gallows. Sonnet, to science. Science, true daughter of old time thou art, who alterest all things with thy peering eyes. Why preyest thou thus upon the poet's heart, vulture, whose wings are dull realities? How should he love thee, or how deem thee wise, who wouldst not leave him in his wandering to seek for treasure in the jeweled skies, albeit he soared with an undaunted wing? Hast thou not dragged Diana from her car, and driven the Hamadryad from the wood to seek a shelter in some happier star? Hast thou not torn the Naiad from her flood, the elfin from the green grass, and from me, the summer dream beneath the tamarind tree? AARAAF Partway. Oh, nothing earthly save the ray, thrown back from flowers, of beauty's eye, as in those gardens where the day springs from the gems of circassy. Oh, nothing earthly save the thrill of melody and woodland rill, or music of the passion-hearted, joy's voice so peacefully departed, that like the murmur in the shell, its echo dwelleth and will dwell. Oh, nothing of the dross of ours, yet all the beauty, all the flowers that list our love, and deck our bowers, adorn yon world afar, afar, the wandering star. 'Twas a sweet time for Nasace, for there her world lay lolling on the golden air, near 4 bright suns, a temporary rest, an oasis in desert of the blest. Away, away, mid seas of rays that roll empyrean splendor o'er the unchained soul. The soul that scarce, the billows are so dense, can struggle to its destined eminence. To distant spheres from time to time she rode, and late to ours, the favored one of God. But now the ruler of an anchored realm, she throws aside the scepter, leaves the helm, and amid incense and high spiritual hymns, laves in quadruple light her angel limbs. Now happiest, loveliest in yon lovely earth, whence sprang the idea of beauty into birth, falling in wreaths thro' many a startled star, like woman's hair mid pearls, until afar it lit on hills Achaean and there dwelt. She looked into infinity, and knelt. Rich clouds, for canopies, about her curled, fit emblems of the model of her world, seen but in beauty, not impeding sight of other beauty, glittering through the light. A wreath that twined each starry form around, and all the opaled air in color bound. All hurriedly she knelt upon a bed of flowers, of lilies such as reared the head, on the fair Capo Ducato, and sprang so eagerly around about to hang upon the flying footsteps of deep pride, of her who loved a mortal and so died. The cephalica, budding with young bees, upreared its purple stem around her knees. On Centamora, Olum Ducadia, and Gemmy-flower, of Trebizond misnamed, inmate of highest stars, where erst it shammed all other loveliness, its honey dew, the fabled nectar that the heathen knew, deliriously sweet, was dropped from heaven, and fell on gardens of the unforgiven in Trebizond, and on a sunny flower so like its own above that, to this hour, it still remaineth, torturing the bee with madness, and unwonted reverie. In heaven and all its environs, the leaf and blossom of the fairy plant, in grief, disconsolate, linger, grief that hangs her head, repenting follies that full long have fled, heaving her white breast to the balmy air, like guilty beauty, chastened, and more fair. Nyctanthes too, as sacred as the light she fears to perfume, perfuming the night. And Clydia pondering between many a sun, while pettish tears adown her petals run. And that aspiring flower that sprang on earth, and died, ere scarce exalted into birth, bursting its odorous heart and spirit to wing its way to heaven from garden of a king. This flower is much noticed by Leeuwenhoek and Tournefort. The bee, feeding upon its blossom, becomes intoxicated. Clytia, the Chrysanthemum peruvianum, or, to employ a better-known term, the turnsel, which continually turns towards the sun, covers itself, like Peru, the country from which it comes, with dewy clouds which cool and refresh its flowers during the most violent heat of the day. B. de Saint-Pierre. There is cultivated in the King's Garden at Paris a species of serpentine aloes without prickles, whose large and beautiful flower exhales a strong odor of the vanilla during the time of its expansion, which is very short. It does not blow till towards the month of July. You then perceive it gradually open its petals, expand them, fade, and die. Saint Pierre, and Vallisnerian lotus thither flown from struggling with the waters of the Rhone. And thy most lovely purple perfume, Zante, Isoladoro, Fior di Levante. And the Nelumbo bud that floats forever with Indian Cupid down the holy river. Fair flowers and fairy, to whose care is given to bear the goddess's song in odors up to heaven. Spirit, that dwellest where in the deep sky the terrible and fair in beauty vie, beyond the line of blue, the boundary of the star which turneth at the view of thy barrier and thy bar, of the barrier overgone by the comets who were cast from their pride and from their throne to be drudges till the last, to be carriers of fire, the red fire of their heart, with speed that may not tire, and with pain that shall not part. There is found in the Rhone a beautiful lily of the Vallisnerian kind. Its stem will stretch to the length of 3 or 4 feet, thus preserving its head above water in the swellings of the river. The hyacinth. It is a fiction of the Indians that Cupid was first seen floating in one of these down the river Ganges, and that he still loves the cradle of his childhood. And golden vials full of odors, which are the prayers of the saints. Reverend St. John, who livest, that we know, in eternity we feel, but the shadow of whose brow what spirit shall reveal? Though the beings whom thy naysays, thy messenger hath known have dreamed for thy infinity, a model of their own, thy will is done, O God. The star hath ridden high thro' many a tempest, but she rode beneath thy burning eye, and here in thought to thee, in thought that can alone ascend thy empire and so be a partner of thy throne. The humanitarians held that God was to be understood as having a really human form. Vide Clarke's Sermons, Volume 1, page 26, Fuller edit. The drift of Milton's argument leads him to employ language which would appear, at first sight, to verge upon their doctrine, but it will be seen immediately that he guards himself against the charge of having adopted one of the most ignorant errors of the Dark Ages of the Church. Dr. Sumner's Notes on Milton's Christian Doctrine. This opinion, in spite of many testimonies to the contrary, could never have been very general. Andaeus, a Syrian of Mesopotamia, was condemned for the opinion as heretical. He lived in the beginning of the 4th century. His disciples were called anthropomorphites, vide Dupin. Among Milton's poems are these lines: Dicite sacrorum praesides nemorum Dei, etc. Qui si le primus cujus ex imagine natura solers finxit humanum genus. Eternus incorruptus, equevus polo, unusque et universus exemplar Dei. And afterwards, non qui profundum cecitas lumen dedit dirceus augur vidit hunc alto sinu, etc. By winged fantasy, my embassy is given, till secrecy shall knowledge be in the environs of heaven. She ceased, and buried then her burning cheek abashed amid the lilies there, to seek a shelter from the fervor of his eye, for the stars trembled at the deity. She stirred not, breathed not, for a voice was there, how solemnly pervading the calm air. A sound of silence on the startled ear, which dreamy poets name the music of the sphere. Ours is a world of words. Quiet we call silence, which is the merest word of all. All nature speaks, and even ideal things flap shadowy sounds from visionary wings. But ah, not so when thus, in realms on high, the eternal voice of God is passing by, and the red winds are withering in the sky. What though in worlds which sightless cycles run, linked to a little system, and one sun, where all my love is folly and the crowd still think my terrors but the thundercloud, the storm, the earthquake, and the ocean wrath. Ah, will they cross me in my angrier path? What though in worlds which own a single sun, the sands of time grow dimmer as they run? Seltsamen Tochter, Jovis seinem Schosskinde, der Fantasie, Goethe. Sightless, too small to be seen, Lege. Yet thine is my resplendency, so given to bear my secrets thro' the upper heaven. Leave tenantless thy crystal home and fly, with all thy train athwart the moony sky. Apart, like fireflies in Sicilian night, and wing to other worlds another light. Divulge the secrets of thy embassy to the proud orbs that twinkle, and so be to every heart a barrier and a ban, lest the stars totter in the guilt of man. Uprose the maiden in the yellow night, the single-mooned eve. On earth we plight our faith to one love, and one moon adore. The birthplace of young beauty had no more. As sprang that yellow star from downy hours, uprose the maiden from her shrine of flowers, and bent o'er sheeny mountain and dim plain. Her way, but left not yet her Theracean reign. I have often noticed a peculiar movement of the fireflies. They will collect in a body and fly off from a common center into innumerable radii. Theracea, or Theracea, the island mentioned by Seneca, which in a moment arose from the sea to the eyes of astonished mariners. Part 2. High on a mountain of enameled head, such as the drowsy shepherd on his bed, of giant pasturage lying at his ease, raising his heavy eyelid, starts and sees with many a muttered, hope to be forgiven. What time the moon is quadrated in heaven. Of rosy head, that towering far away into the sunlit ether, caught the ray of sunken suns at eve, at noon of night, while the moon danced with the fair stranger light. Upreared upon such height arose a pile of gorgeous columns on the unburthened air, flashing from Parian marble that twin smile far down upon the wave that sparkled there, and nursled the young mountain in its lair. Of molten stars their pavement, such as fall thro' the eben air, besilvering the pall of their own dissolution, while they die. Adorning then the dwellings of the sky. A dome, by linked light from heaven let down, sat gently on these columns as a crown. A window of one circular diamond there, looked out above into the purple air, some star which, from the ruined roof of shaked Olympus by mischance did fall. Milton. And rays from God shot down that meteor chain, and hallowed all the beauty twice again, save when, between the Empyrean and that ring, some eager spirit flapped his dusky wing. But on the pillars, seraph eyes have seen the dimness of this world. That grayish green that nature loves the best for beauty's grave, lurked in each cornice, round each architrave. And every sculptured cherub thereabout, that from his marble dwelling peered out, seemed earthly in the shadow of his niche, Achaean statues in a world so rich. Friezes from Tadmor and Persepolis, from Baalbec, and the stilly clear abyss of beautiful Gomorrah. Oh, the wave is now upon thee, but too late to save. Sound, love to revel in a summer night. Witness the murmur of the grey twilight. Voltaire, in speaking of Persepolis, says, Je connais bien l'admiration qu'inspirent ces ruines, mais un palais érigé au pied d'une chaîne des rochers de Stérile, peut-il être un chef-d'œuvre des arts? Voilà les arguments de Monsieur Voltaire. Oh, the wave! Ulalume is the Turkish appellation, but, on its own shores, it is called Bahar Lot, or Almotana. There were undoubtedly more than 2 cities engulfed in the Dead Sea. In the valley of Siddim were 5, Adra, Zeboim, Zoar, Sodom, and Gomorrah. Stephen of Byzantium mentions 8, and Strabo 13, engulfed. But the last is out of all reason. It is said, Tacitus, Strabo, Josephus, Daniel of St. Saba, now, Mondrel, Troilo, Darvieux, that after an excessive drought, the vestiges of columns, walls, etc., are seen above the surface. At any season, such remains may be discovered by looking down into the transparent lake, and at such distances as would argue the existence of many settlements in the space now usurped by the asphaltites. That stole upon the ear in Eraco of many a wild stargazer long ago. That stealeth ever on the ear of him who, musing, gazeth on the distance dim, and sees the darkness coming as a cloud. Is not its form, its voice, most palpable and loud? But what is this? It cometh, and it brings a music with it. 'Tis the rush of wings. A pause, and then a sweeping, falling strain. And Nessus is in her halls again. From the wild energy of wanton haste, her cheeks were flushing, and her lips apart. And zone that clung around her gentle waist had burst beneath the heaving of her heart. Within the center of that hall to breathe, she paused and panted, Xanthe. All beneath, the fairy light that kissed her golden hair, and longed to rest, yet could but sparkle there. Young flowers were whispering in melody to happy flowers that night, and tree to tree. Fountains were gushing music as they fell, in many a starlit grove, or moonlit dell. Yet silence came upon material things. Fair flowers, bright waterfalls, and angel wings. And sound alone that from the spirit sprang, bore burthen, to the charm the maiden sang. Irako, Chaldea. I have often thought I could distinctly hear the sound of the darkness as it stole over the horizon. Fairies use flowers for their charactery. Merry Wives of Windsor, William Shakespeare. Neath bluebell or streamer, or tufted wild spray that keeps, from the dreamer, the moonbeam away. Bright beings, that ponder, with half-closing eyes, on the stars which your wonder hath drawn from the skies, till they glance through the shade, and come down to your brow like eyes of the maiden who calls on you now. Arise from your dreaming in violet bowers, to duty beseeming these star-litten hours, and shake from your tresses encumbered with dew the breath of those kisses that cumber them too. Oh, how without you, love, could angels be blessed? Those kisses of true love that lulled you to rest. Up, shake from your wing each hindering thing, the dew of the night. It would weigh down your flight, and true love caresses, oh, leave them apart. In Scripture is this passage, the sun shall not harm thee by day, nor the moon by night. It is perhaps not generally known that the moon, in Egypt, has the effect of producing blindness to those who sleep with the face exposed to its rays, to which circumstance the passage evidently alludes. They are light on the tresses, but lead on the heart. Ligeia, Ligeia, my beautiful one, whose harshest idea will to melody run, oh, is it thy will on the breezes to toss, or capriciously still? Like the lone albatross, incumbent on night, as she on the air, to keep watch with delight on the harmony there? Ligeia, whatever thy image may be, no magic shall sever thy music from thee. Thou hast bound many eyes in a dreamy sleep, but the strains still arise which thy vigilance keep. The sound of the rain which leaps down to the flower, and dances again in the rhythm of the shower. The murmur that springs from the growing of grass. The albatross is said to sleep on the wing. I met with this idea in an old English tale, which I am now unable to obtain and quote from memory. The very essence and, as it were, spring ahead, and origine of all musique, is the very plaisante sounde which the trees of the forest do make when they grow. Are the music of things but are modelled, alas, away. Then, my dearest, O hie thee away to springs that lie clearest beneath the moon-ray. To lone lake that smiles, in its dream of deep rest, at the many star isles that enjewel its breast. Where wild flowers, creeping, have mingled their shade, on its margin is sleeping full many a maid. Some have left the cool glade, and have slept with the bee. Arouse them, my maiden, on moorland and lea, go, breathe on their slumber, all softly in ear, the musical number they slumbered to hear, for what can awaken an angel so soon? The wild bee will not sleep in the shade if there be moonlight. The rhyme in this verse, as in one about 60 lines before, has an appearance of affectation. It is, however, imitated from Sir W. Scott, or rather from Claude Halcrow, in whose mouth I admired its effect. Oh, were there an island, though ever so wild, where woman might smile, and no man be beguiled, etc., whose sleep hath been taken beneath the cold moon, as the spell which no slumber of witchery may test, the rhythmical number which lulled him to rest. Spirits in wing and angels to the view, 1,000 seraphs burst the empyrean throw, young dreams still hovering on their drowsy flight. Seraphs in all but knowledge, the keen light that fell, refracted, throw thy bounds, afar, O death, from eye of God upon that star. Sweet was that error, sweeter still that death. Sweet was that error. Evan, With us the breath of science dims the mirror of our joy. To them 'twere the simoom and would destroy. For what, to them, availeth it to know that truth is falsehood, or that bliss is woe? Sweet was their death. With them to die was rife with the last ecstasy of satiate life. Beyond that death no immortality, but sleep that pondereth and is not to be, and there, oh, may my weary spirit dwell. Apart from heaven's eternity, and yet how far from hell? With the Arabians there is a medium between heaven and hell, where men suffer no punishment, but yet do not attain that tranquil and even happiness which they suppose to be characteristic of heavenly enjoyment. Un no rompido sueño, un día puro, alegre, libre quiera, libre de amor, de celo, de odio, de esperanza, de recelo. Luis Ponce de León. Sorrow is not excluded from AARAAF, but it is that sorrow which the living love to cherish for the dead, and which, in some minds, resembles the delirium of opium. The passionate excitement of love and the buoyancy of spirit attendant upon intoxication are its less holy pleasures, the price of which, to those souls who make choice of Al-Araf as their residence after life, is final death and annihilation. What guilty spirit, in what shrubbery dim, heard not the stirring summons of that hymn? But two. They fell. For heaven no grace imparts to those who hear not for their beating hearts. A maiden angel and her seraph lover. Oh, where, and ye may seek the wide skies over, was love, the blind, near sober duty known. Unguided love hath fallen, mid tears of perfect moan. He was a goodly spirit, he who fell, a wanderer by mossy mantled well, a gazer on the lights that shine above, a dreamer in the moonbeam by his love. What wonder? For each star is eye-like there, and looks so sweetly down on beauty's hair. And they, and every mossy spring were holy to his love-haunted heart and melancholy. The night had found, to him a night of woe, upon a mountain crag young Angelo, beetling it bends athwart the solemn sky, and scowls on starry worlds that down beneath it lie. Here sate he with his love, his dark eye bent with eagle gaze along the firmament. Now turned it upon her, but ever then it trembled to the orb of earth again. Iante, dearest, see, how dim that ray, how lovely 'tis to look so far away. There be tears of perfect moan wept for thee in Helicon. Milton. She seemed not thus upon that autumn eve I left her gorgeous halls, nor mourn to leave. That eve, I should remember well. The sun-ray dropped in Lemnos, with a spell on the arabesque carving of a gilded hall, wherein I sate, and on the draperied wall, and on my eyelids, oh, the heavy light! How drowsily it weighed them into night! On flowers before, and mist, and love they ran with Persian Sadi in his Gulistan. But oh, that light! I slumbered. Death the while stole o'er my senses in that lovely isle so softly that no single silken hair awoke that slept, or knew that it was there. The last spot of earth's orb I trod upon was a proud temple called the Parthenon. More beauty clung around her columned wall than even thy glowing bosom beats withal. And when old time my wing did disenthrall, thence sprang I, as the eagle from his tower, and years I left behind me in an hour. What time upon her airy bounds I hung, one half the garden of her globe was flung, unrolling as a chart unto my view, tenantless cities of the desert too. Ianthe, beauty crowded on me then, and half I wished to be again of men. My Angelo, and why of them to be? A brighter dwelling place is here for thee. It was entire in 1687, the most elevated spot in Athens, shadowing more beauty in their airy brows than have the white breasts of the Queen of Love, Marlowe, and greener fields than in yon world above, and women's loveliness, and passionate love. But list, Ianthe, when the air so soft failed, as my pennoned spirit leapt aloft, perhaps my brain grew dizzy, but the world I left so late was into chaos hurled, sprang from her station, on the winds apart, and rolled, aflame, the fiery heaven athwart. Methought, my sweet one, then I ceased to soar and fell, not swiftly as I rose before, but with a downward, tremulous motion throw light, brazen rays this golden star unto. Nor long the measure of my falling hours, for nearest of all stars was thine to ours. Dread star, that came amid a night of mirth, a red Daedalian on the timid earth. We came, and to thy earth, but not to us, be given Our Lady's bidding to discuss. We came, my love, around above, below, gay firefly of the night we come and go, nor ask a reason save the angel nod she grants to us, as granted by her God. But Angelo, then thine grey time unfurled never his fairy wing o'er fairer world. Dim was its little disk, and angel eyes alone could see the phantom in the skies, when first AARAAF knew her course to be headlong thitherward o'er the starry sea. But when its glory swelled upon the sky, as glowing beauties bust beneath man's eye, pennon for pinion, Milton, we paused before the heritage of men, and thy star trembled, as doth beauty then. Thus, in discourse, the lovers whiled away the night that waned and brought no day. They fell, for heaven to them no hope imparts who hear not for the beating of their hearts. Tamerlane, kind solace in a dying hour, such, Father, is not, now, my theme. I will not madly deem that power of earth may shrive me of the sin unearthly pride hath revelled in. I have no time to dote or dream. You call it hope, that fire of fire. It is but agony of desire. If I can hope, O God, I can. Its fount is holier, more divine. I would not call thee fool, old man, but such is not a gift of thine. Know thou the secret of a spirit bowed from its wild pride into shame. O, yearning heart, I did inherit thy withering portion with the fame, the searing glory which hath shone amid the jewels of my throne, halo of hell, and with a pain not hell shall make me fear again. O, craving heart, for the lost flowers and sunshine of my summer hours, the undying voice of that dead time, with its interminable chime, rings in the spirit of a spell, upon thy emptiness, a knell. I have not always been as now. The fevered diadem on my brow I claimed and won usurpingly. Hath not the same fierce heirdom given Rome to the Caesar, this to me? The heritage of a kingly mind, and a proud spirit which hath striven triumphantly with humankind. On mountain soil I first drew life. The mists of the Taglay have shed nightly their dews upon my head, and I believe the winged strife and tumult of the headlong air have nestled in my very hair. So late from heaven, that dew, it fell, mid dreams of an unholy night, upon me, with the touch of hell, while the red flashing of the light from clouds that hung like banners, or appeared to my half-closing eye, the pageantry of monarchy, and the deep trumpet thunder's roar came hurriedly upon me, telling of human battle, where my voice, my own voice, silly child, was swelling. Oh, how my spirit would rejoice, and leap within me at the cry, the battle cry of victory. The rain came down upon my head unsheltered, and the heavy wind was giant-like. So thou, my mind. It was but man, I thought, who shed laurels upon me, and the rush, the torrent of the chilly air gurgled within my ear the crush of empires, with the captive's prayer, the hum of suitors, and the tone of flattery round a sovereign's throne. My passions, from that hapless hour, usurped a tyranny which men have deemed, since I have reached to power. My innate nature, be it so. But, Father, there lived one who then, in my boyhood, when their fire burned with a still intenser glow, for passion must with youth expire, e'en then who knew this iron heart in woman's weakness had a part. I have no words, alas, to tell the loveliness of loving well, nor would I now attempt to trace the more than beauty of a face whose lineaments upon my mind are shadows on the unstable wind. Thus I remember having dwelt some page of early lore upon, with loitering eye, till I have felt the letters, with their meaning, melt to fantasies, with none. Oh, she was worthy of all love, love, as in infancy was mine. 'Twas such as angel minds above might envy. Her young heart the shrine on which my every hope and thought were incense, then a goodly gift, for they were childish, and upright, pure, as her young example taught. Why did I leave it, and adrift, trust to the fire within for light? We grew in age, and love together, roaming the forest and the wild, my breast her shield in wintry weather, and when the friendly sunshine smiled, and she, would mark the opening skies. I saw no heaven, but in her eyes. Young love's first lesson is the heart. For mid that sunshine and those smiles, when from our little cares apart and laughing at her girlish wiles, I'd throw me on her throbbing breast and pour my spirit out in tears. There was no need to speak the rest. No need to quiet any fears of her, who asked no reason why, but turned on me her quiet eye. Yet more than worthy of the love my spirit struggled with and strove, when on the mountain peak, alone, ambition lent it a new tone. I had no being, but in thee, the world, and all it did contain. In the earth, the air, the sea, its joy, its little lot of pain that was new pleasure, the ideal, dim vanities of dreams by night, and dimmer nothings which were real, shadows, and a more shadowy light, parted upon their misty wings, and so confusedly became thine image, and a name, two separate, yet most intimate things. I was ambitious. Have you known the passion, father? You have not. A cottager, I marked a throne of half the world as all my own, and murmured at such lowly lot. But just like any other dream, upon the vapor of the dew my own had passed, did not the beam of beauty, which did while it throw, the minute, the hour, the day, oppress my mind with double loveliness. We walked together on the crown of a high mountain which looked down afar from its proud natural towers of rock and forest, on the hills. The dwindled hills, begirt with bowers and shouting with 1,000 rills. I spoke to her of power and pride, but mystically, in such guise that she might deem it naught beside the moment's converse. In her eyes I read, perhaps too carelessly, a mingled feeling with my own. The flush on her bright cheek, to me, seemed to become a queenly throne too well that I should let it be light in the wilderness alone. I wrapped myself in grandeur then, and donned a visionary crown. Yet it was not that fantasy had thrown her mantle over me, but that, among the rabble, men, lion ambition is chained down, and crouches to a keeper's hand. Not so in deserts where the grand, the wild, the terrible conspire with their own breath to fan his fire. Look round thee now on Samarcand. Is not she queen of earth? Her pride above all cities. In her hand their destinies. In all beside of glory which the world hath known, stands she not nobly and alone? Falling, her veriest stepping stone shall form the pedestal of a throne, and who her sovereign? Timur, he whom the astonished people saw striding o'er empires haughtily, a diademed outlaw. O human love, thou spirit given on earth of all we hope in heaven, which fall'st into the soul like rain, upon the Siroc withered plain, and failing in thy power to bless, but leav'st the heart a wilderness. Idea, which bindest life around with music of so strange a sound, and beauty of so wild a birth. Farewell, for I have won the earth. When Hope, the eagle that towered, could see no cliff beyond him in the sky, his pinions were bent droopingly, and homeward turned his softened eye. 'Twas sunset. When the sun will part, there comes a sullenness of heart to him who still would look upon the glory of the summer sun. That soul will hate the evening mist, so often lovely, and will list to the sound of the coming darkness, known to those whose spirits hearken, as one who, in a dream of night, would fly but cannot from a danger nigh. What though the moon, though the white moon shed all the splendor of her noon, her smile is chilly, and her beam, in that time of dreariness, will seem, so like you gather in your breath, a portrait taken after death. And boyhood is a summer sun, whose waning is the dreariest one. For all we live to know is known, and all we seek to keep hath flown. Let life then, as the day flower, fall with the noonday beauty, which is all. I reached my home no more, for all had flown who made it so. I passed from out its mossy door, and though my tread was soft and low, a voice came from the threshold stone of one whom I had earlier known. Oh, I defy thee, hell, to show on beds of fire that burn below a humbler heart, a deeper woe. Father, I firmly do believe, I know for death, who comes for me from regions of the blessed afar, where there is nothing to deceive, hath left his iron gate ajar, and rays of truth you cannot see are flashing through eternity. I do believe that Eblis hath a snare in every human path, Else how, when in the holy grove I wandered of the idol Love, who daily scents his snowy wings with incense of burnt offerings from the most unpolluted things, whose pleasant bowers are yet so riven above with trellised rays from heaven no mote may shun, no tiniest fly the lightning of his eagle eye. How was it that ambition crept, unseen, amid the revels there, till growing bold, he laughed and leapt in the tangles of love's very hair? 1829. To Helen. Helen, thy beauty is to me like those Nisan barks of yore, that gently, o'er a perfumed sea, the weary wayworn wanderer bore to his own native shore. On desperate seas long wont to roam, thy hyacinth hair, thy classic face, thy naiad airs, have brought me home to the glory that was Greece, and the grandeur that was Rome. Lo, in yon brilliant window niche, how statue-like I me thee stand, the agate lamp within thy hand. Ah, Psyche, from the regions which are Holy Land, 1831. The Valley of Unrest. Once it smiled a silent dell where the people did not dwell. They had gone unto the wars, trusting to the mild-eyed stars, nightly, from their azure towers, to keep watch above the flowers, in the midst of which all day the red sunlight lazily lay. Now each visitor shall confess the sad valley's restlessness. Nothing there is motionless, nothing save the airs that brood over the magic solitude. Ah, by no wind are stirred those trees that palpitate like the chill seas around the misty Hebrides. Ah, by no wind those clouds are driven that rustle through the unquiet heaven. Uneasily from morn till even, over the violets there that lie in myriad types of the human eye, over the lilies there that wave and weep above a nameless grave. They wave. From out their fragrant tops eternal dews come down in drops. They weep. From off their delicate stems perennial tears descend in gems. 1831. ISRAFEL. In heaven a spirit doth dwell, whose heartstrings are a lute. None sing so wildly well as the angel Israfel, and the giddy stars, so legends tell, ceasing their hymns, attend the spell of his voice, all mute. Tottering above in her highest noon, the enamored moon blushes with love, while, to listen, the red levin, with the rapid Pleiads even, which were 7, pauses in heaven, and they say, the starry choir and all the listening things, that Israfeli's fire is owing to that lyre by which he sits and sings, the trembling living wire of those unusual strings. But the skies that angel trod, where deep thoughts are a duty, where love's a grown-up god, where the houri glances are imbued with all the beauty which we worship in a star. Therefore, thou art not wrong, Israfeli, who despisest an unimpassioned song. To thee the laurels belong, best bard, because the wisest. Merrily live and long. The ecstasies above with thy burning measures suit. Thy grief, thy joy, thy hate, thy love, with the fervor of thy lute. Well may the stars be mute. Yes, heaven is thine. But this is a world of sweets and sours. Our flowers are merely flowers, and the shadow of thy perfect bliss is the sunshine of ours. If I could dwell where Israfel hath dwelt, and he where I, he might not sing so wildly well a mortal melody, while a bolder note than this might swell from my lyre within the sky. 1836. 2-1. Would the bowers whereat, in dreams I see the wantonest singing birds are lips, and all thy melody of lip-begotten words, to thine eyes in heaven of heart enshrined, then desolately fall, O God, on my funereal mind like starlight on a pall. 3. Thy heart, I wake and sigh, and sleep to dream till day of truth that gold can never buy, of the trifles that it may. 1829. 2. I heed not, that my earthly lot hath little of earth in it, that years of love have been forgot in the hatred of a minute. I mourn not that the desolate are happier sweet than I, but that you sorrow for my fate who am a passer-by. 1829. To the river. Fair river, in thy bright, clear flow of crystal wandering water, thou art an emblem of the glow of beauty, the unhidden heart, the playful maziness of art in old Alberto's daughter. But when within thy wave she looks, which glistens then, and trembles, why then the prettiest of brooks her worshipper resembles. For in my heart, as in thy stream, her image deeply lies, his heart which trembles at the beam of her soul-searching eyes. 1829. Spirits of the dead, 1. Thy soul shall find itself alone, mid dark thoughts of the grey tombstone, not one, of all the crowd, to pry into thine hour of secrecy. 2. Be silent in that solitude which is not loneliness, for then the spirits of the dead who stood in life before thee are again in death around thee, and their will shall then overshadow thee. Be still. Thrive, for the night, though clear, shall frown, and the stars shall look not down from their high thrones in the heaven with light like hope to mortals given, but their red orbs without beam to thy weariness shall seem as a burning and a fever which would cling to thee forever. For now our thoughts thou shalt not banish, now our visions ne'er to vanish, from thy spirit shall they pass, no more, like dewdrop from the grass. 5. The breeze, the breath of God, is still, and the mist upon the hill, shadowy, shadowy, yet unbroken, is a symbol and a token, how it hangs upon the trees, a mystery of mysteries. 1827. A dream. In visions of the dark night I have dreamed of joy departed, but a waking dream of life and light hath left me broken-hearted. Ah, what is not a dream by day to him whose eyes are cast on things around him with a ray turned back upon the past? That holy dream, while all the world were chiding, hath cheered me as a lovely beam, a lonely spirit guiding. What though that light through storm and night so trembled from afar? What could there be more purely bright in truth's day-star? 1827. Romance. Romance, who loves to nod and sing, with drowsy head and folded wing, among the green leaves as they shake far down within some shadowy lake, to me a painted paroquet hath been, a most familiar bird, taught me my alphabet to say, to lisp my very earliest word. While in the wild wood I did lie, a child, with a most knowing eye, of late, eternal condor years, so shake the very heaven on high. With tumult as they thunder by, I have no time for idle cares, through gazing on the unquiet sky. And when an hour with calmer wings its down upon thy spirit flings, that little time with lyre and rhyme to while away forbidden things, my heart would feel to be a crime, unless it trembled with the strings. 1829. Fairyland. Dim veils, and shadowy floods, and cloudy-looking woods, whose forms we can't discover. For the tears that drip all over huge moons, their wax and wane, again, 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 every moment of the night, forever changing places. And they put out the starlight with the breath from their pale faces, about 12 by the moon-dial 1, more filmy than the rest, a kind which, upon trial, they have found to be the best, comes down, still down, and down with its center on the crown of a mountain's eminence, while its wide circumference in easy drapery falls over hamlets, over halls, wherever they may be, o'er the strange woods, o'er the sea, over spirits on the wing, over every drowsy thing, and buries them up quite in a labyrinth of light. And then, how deep, oh deep, is the passion of their sleep. In the morning they arise, and their moony covering is soaring in the skies, with the tempests as they toss, like almost anything, or a yellow albatross. They use that moon no more for the same end as before, videlicet attent, which I think extravagant, its atomies, however, into a shower dissever, of which those butterflies of earth who seek the skies, and so come down again, never contented things, have brought a specimen upon their quivering wings. 1831. The lake. In spring of youth it was my lot to haunt of the wide earth a spot, the which I could not love the less. So lovely was the loneliness of a wild lake, with black rock bound, and the tall pines that towered around. But when the night had thrown her pall upon that spot, as upon all, and the mystic wind went by murmuring in melody, then, then I would awake to the terror of the lone lake. Yet that terror was not fright, but a tremulous delight, a feeling not the jeweled mind could teach or bribe me to define, nor love, although the love were thine. Death was in that poisonous wave, and in its gulf a fitting grave for him who thence could solace bring to his lone imagining, whose solitary soul could make an Eden of that dim lake. 1827. Evening star. 'Twas noontide of summer, and midtime of night, and stars in their orbits shone pale through the light of the brighter cold moon. Mid-planets her slaves, herself in the heavens, her beam on the waves. I gazed a while on her cold smile, too cold for me. There passed as a shroud, a fleecy cloud, and I turned away to thee, proud evening star, in thy glory afar, and dearer thy beam shall be. For joy to my heart is the proud part thou bearest in heaven at night, and more I admire thy distant fire than that colder lowly light. 1827. The happiest day. 1. The happiest day, the happiest hour, my seared and blighted heart hath known. The highest hope of pride and power, I feel hath flown. Of power, said I. Yes, such I ween, but they have vanished long, alas. The visions of my youth have been, but let them pass. 2. And pride, what have I now with thee? Another brow may even inherit the venom thou hast poured on me, be still my spirit. 3. The happiest day, the happiest hour mine eyes shall see, have ever seen the brightest glance of pride and power I feet have been. 4. But were that hope of pride and power now offered with the pain, even then I felt, that brightest hour I would not live again. 5. For on its wing was dark alloy, and as it fluttered, fell an essence, powerful to destroy a soul that knew it well. 1827. Imitation. A dark, unfathomed tide of interminable pride. A mystery and a dream, should my early life seem. I say that dream was fraught with a wild and waking thought of beings that have been, which my spirit hath not seen, had I let them pass me by, with a dreaming eye. Let none of earth inherit that vision on my spirit. Those thoughts I would control as a spell upon his soul. For that bright hope at last, and that light time have passed, and my worldly rest hath gone with a sigh as it passed. On I care not though it perish with a thought I then did cherish. 1827. Hymn to Aristogeiton and Harmodius. Translation from the Greek. 1. Wreathed in myrtle, my sword I'll conceal like those champions devoted and brave, when they plunged in the tyrant their steel, and to Athens deliverance gave. 2. Beloved heroes, your deathless souls roam in the joy-breathing isles of the blest, where the mighty of old have their home, where Achilles and Diomed rest. 3. In fresh myrtle my blade I'll entwine, like Harmodius, the gallant and good, when he made at the tutelar shrine a libation of tyranny's blood. 4. Ye deliverers of Athens from shame, ye avengers of liberty's wrongs, endless ages shall cherish your fame, embalmed in their echoing songs. 1827. In youth I have known one. How often we forget all time, when lone admiring nature's universal throne, her woods, her wilds, her mountains, the intense reply of hers to our intelligence. In youth I have known one with whom the earth in secret communing held, as he with it, in daylight and in beauty from his birth, whose fervid flickering torch of life was lit from the sun and stars, whence he had drawn forth a passionate light such for his spirit was fit, and yet that spirit knew, not in the hour of its own fervor, what had o'er it power. 2. Perhaps it may be that my mind is wrought to a fever by the moonbeam that hangs o'er, but I will half believe that wild light fraught with more of sovereignty than ancient lore hath ever told. Or is it of a thought the unembodied essence, and no more that with a quickening spell doth o'er us pass as dew of the night-time o'er the summer grass? 3. Doth o'er us pass when, as the expanding eye to the loved object, so the tear to the lid will start which lately slept in apathy, and yet it need not be that object hid from us in life, but common, which doth lie each hour before us, but then only bid with a strange sound, as of a harp-string broken to awake us. 'Tis a symbol and a token of what in other worlds shall be, and given in beauty by our God, to those alone who otherwise would fall from life and heaven drawn by their heart's passion, and that tone, that high tone of the spirit which hath striven, though not with faith, with godliness, whose throne with desperate energy hath beaten down, wearing its own deep feeling as a crown, a Pan. 1. How shall the burial rite be read, the solemn song be sung, the requiem for the loveliest dead that ever died so young? 2. Her friends are gazing on her, and on her gaudy bier, and weep, oh, to dishonor dead beauty with a tear. 3. They loved her for her wealth, and they hated her for her pride. But she grew in feeble health, and they love her, that she died. 4. They tell me, while they speak of her costly broidered pall, that my voice is growing weak, that I should not sing at all. 5. Or that my tone should be tuned to such solemn song so mournfully, that the dead may feel no wrong. 6. But she is gone above, with young hope at her side, and I am drunk with love of the dead, who is my bride. 7. Of the dead who lies all perfumed there, with the death upon her eyes and the life upon her hair. 8. Thus on the coffin loud and long I strike, the murmur sent through the grey chambers to my song shall be the accompaniment. 9. Thou diedst in thy life's June, but thou didst not die too fair, thou didst not die too soon, nor with too calm an air. 10. From more than friends on earth, thy life and love are riven, to join the untainted mirth of more than thrones in heaven. 11. Therefore, to thee this night I will no requiem raise, but waft thee on thy flight with a paean of old days. Notes 30. On the poems written in youth. Little comment is needed. This section includes the pieces printed for first volume of 1827, which was subsequently suppressed. Such poems from the first and second published volumes of 1829 and 1831 as have not already been given in their revised versions, and a few others collected from various sources. AARAAF first appeared with the sonnet To Silence prefixed to it in 1829, and is, substantially, as originally issued. In the edition for 1831, however, this poem, its author's longest, was introduced by the following 29 lines, which have been omitted in all subsequent collections. AARAAF. Mysterious star, thou wert my dream all a long summer night. Be now my theme, by this clear stream, of thee will I write. Meantime from afar, bathe me in light. Thy world has not the dross of ours, yet all the beauty, all the flowers that list our love or deck our bowers, in dreamy gardens, where do lie dreamy maidens all the day, while the silver winds of Circassy on violet couches faint away. Little, oh little dwells in thee, like unto what on earth we see. Beauty's eye is here the bluest in the falsest and untruest, on the sweetest air doth float the most sad and solemn note. If with thee be broken hearts, joy so peacefully departs, that its echo still doth dwell, like the murmur in the shell. Thy truest type of grief is the gently falling leaf. Thy framing is so holy, sorrow is not melancholy. 31. The earliest version of Tamerlane was included in the suppressed volume of 1827, but differs very considerably from the poem as now published. The present draft, besides innumerable verbal alterations and improvements upon the original, is more carefully punctuated, and, the lines being indented, presents a more pleasing appearance, to the eye at least. 32. To Helen first appeared in the 1831 volume, as did also The Valley of Unrest, as The Valley Nice, ISRAFEL, and one or two others of the youthful pieces. The poem styled Romance constituted the preface of the 1829 volume, but with the addition of the following lines. Succeeding years, too wild for song, then rolled like tropic storms along, where through the garish lights that fly dying along the troubled sky, lay bare, through vistas thunder-riven, the blackness of the general heaven. That very blackness yet doth ring light on the lightning's silver wing, for being an idle boy long sin, who read Anacreon and drank wine, I early found Anacreon rhymes were almost passionate sometimes, and by strange alchemy of brain his pleasures always turned to pain, his naivete to wild desire, his wit to love, his wine to fire. And so, being young and dipped in folly, I fell in love with melancholy, and used to throw my earthly rest and quiet all away in jest. I could not love except where death was mingling his with beauty's breath, or Hymen, time, and destiny were stalking between her and me. But now my soul hath too much room, gone are the glory and the gloom, the black hath mellowed into grey, and all the fires are fading away. My draught of passion hath been deep, I revelled, and I now would sleep, and after drunkenness of soul succeeds the glories of the bowl. An idle longing night and day to dream my very life away, but dreams of those who dream as I, aspiringly, are damned and die. Yet should I swear I mean alone, by notes so very shrilly blown, to break upon time's monotone, while yet my vapid joy and grief are tintless of the yellow leaf. Why not an imp the greybeard hath, will shake his shadow in my path, and e'en the greybeard will o'erlook connivingly my dreaming book. Doubtful poems, alone. From childhood's hour I have not been as others were. I have not seen as others saw. I could not bring my passions from a common spring. From the same source I have not taken my sorrow. I could not awaken my heart to joy at the same tone. And all I loved alone. Then, in my childhood, in the dawn of a most stormy life, was drawn from every depth of good and ill, the mystery which binds me still, from the torrent or the fountain, from the red cliff of the mountain, from the sun that round me rolled in its autumn tint of gold, from the lightning in the sky as it passed me flying by, from the thunder and the storm, and the cloud that took the form, when the rest of heaven was blue, of a demon in my view, to Isidore, one, beneath the vine-clad eaves, whose shadows fall before thy lowly cottage door under the lilac's tremulous leaves. Within thy snowy clasped hand the purple flowers it bore. Last eve in dreams I saw thee stand, like queenly nymphs from fairyland, enchantress of the flowery wand, most beauteous Isidore. 2. And when I bade the dream upon thy spirit flee, thy violet eyes to me upturned, did overflowing seem, with the deep untold delight of love's serenity. Thy classic brow, like lilies white and pale as the imperial night upon her throne, with stars bedight, enthralled my soul to thee. 3. Ah, I behold thy dreamy, passionate eyes, blue as the languid skies hung, with the sunset's fringe of gold. Now strangely clear thine image grows, and olden memories are startled from their long repose, like shadows on the silent snows, when suddenly the night wind blows, where quiet moonlight ties. 4. Like music heard in dreams, like strains of harps unknown, of birds forever flown, audible as the voice of streams that murmur in some leafy dell, I hear thy gentlest tone, and silence cometh with her spell, like that which on my tongue doth dwell, when tremulous in dreams I tell my love to thee alone. In every valley heard, floating from tree to tree, less beautiful to me, the music of the radiant bird, than artless accents such as thine whose echoes never flee. Ah, how for thy sweet voice I pine, for uttered in thy tones benign, enchantress, this rude name of mine doth seem a melody, the village street. In these rapid, restless shadows, once I walked at eventide, when a gentle, silent maiden, wall-ked in beauty at my side, she alone there walked beside me all in beauty, like a bride. Pallidly, the moon was shining on the dewy meadows nigh, on the silvery, silent rivers, on the mountains far and high, on the ocean's starlit waters, where the winds a-weary die. Slowly, silently we wandered from the open cottage door, underneath the elm's long branches to the pavement bending o'er, underneath the mossy willow and the dying sycamore. With the myriad stars in beauty all bedight, the heavens were seen. Radiant hopes were bright around me, like the light of stars serene, like the mellow midnight splendor of the night's irradiate queen. Audibly the elm leaves whispered, peaceful pleasant melodies, like the distant murmured music of unquiet, lovely seas, while the winds were hushed in slumber in the fragrant flowers and trees. Wondrous and unwonted beauty, still adorning all did seem, while I told my love in fables, 'neath the willows by the stream, would the heart have kept unspoken love that was its rarest dream. Instantly away we wandered in the shadowy twilight tide, she, the silent, scornful maiden, walking calmly at my side, with a step serene and stately, all in beauty, all in pride. Vacantly, I walked beside her. On the earth mine eyes were cast. Swift and keen there came unto me ritter memories of the past. On me, like the rain in autumn, on the dead leaves, cold and fast. Underneath the elms we parted, by the lowly cottage door. One brief word alone was uttered, never on our lips before, and away I walked forlornly, broken-hearted evermore. Slowly, silently I loitered, homeward in the night, alone. sudden anguish bound my spirit that my youth had never known. Wild unrest, like that which cometh when the night's first dream hath flown. Now to me the elm leaves whisper mad, discordant melodies, and keen melodies like shadows haunt the moaning willow trees, and the sycamores with laughter mock me in the nightly breeze. Sad and pale the autumn moonlight through the sighing foliage streams, and each morning, midnight shadow, shadow of my sorrow seems. Strive, O heart, forget thine idol, and O soul, forget thy dreams. The Forest Reverie. 'Tis said that when the hands of men tamed this primeval wood, and hoary trees with groans of woe, like warriors by an unknown foe, were in their strength subdued, the virgin earth gave instant birth to springs that ne'er did flow, that in the sun did rivulets run, and all around rare flowers did blow. The wild rose pale perfumed the gale, and the queenly lily adown the dale, whom the sun and the dew and the winds did woo, with the gourd and the grape luxuriant grew. So when in tears, the love of years is wasted like the snow, and the fine fibrils of its life, by the rude wrong of instant strife, are broken at a blow, within the heart do springs upstart, of which it doth now know, and strange, sweet dreams, like silent streams, that from new fountains overflow, with the earlier tide of rivers glide deep in the heart, whose hope has died, quenching the fires its ashes hide. Its ashes, whence will spring and grow sweet flowers, ere long, the rare and radiant flowers of song. Notes of the many verses from time to time ascribed to the pen of Edgar Poe, and not included among his known writings. The lines entitled Alone have the chief claim to our notice. Facsimile copies of this piece had been in possession of the present editor some time previous to its publication in Scribner's Magazine for September 1875. But as proofs of the authorship claimed for it were not forthcoming, he refrained from publishing it as requested. The desired proofs have not yet been adduced, and there is, at present, nothing but internal evidence to guide us. Alone is stated to have been written by Poe in the album of a Baltimore lady, Mrs. Balderstone, on March 17, 1829, and the facsimile given in Scribner's is alleged to be of his handwriting. If the calligraphy be Poe's, it is different in all essential respects from all the many specimens known to us, and strongly resembles that of the writer of the heading and dating of the manuscript, both of which the contributor of the poem acknowledges to have been recently added. The lines, however, if not by Poe, are the most successful imitation of his early mannerisms yet made public, and, in the opinion of one well qualified to speak, are not unworthy on the whole of the parentage claimed for them. While Edgar Poe was editor of the Broadway Journal, some lines to Isidore appeared therein, and, like several of his known pieces, bore no signature. They were at once ascribed to Poe, and in order to satisfy questioners, an editorial paragraph subsequently appeared, saying they were by A. Ide, Jr. Two previous poems had appeared in the Broadway Journal, over the signature of A. M. Ide, and whoever wrote them was also the author of the lines, to Isidore, Hull, in order doubtless to give a show of variety. Poe was then publishing some of his known works in his journal over nom de plume, and as no other writings whatever can be traced to any person bearing the name of A. M. Ide, it is not impossible that the poems now republished in this collection may be by the author of The Raven. Having been published without his usual elaborate revision, Poe may have wished to hide his hasty work under an assumed name. The three pieces are included in the present collection, so the reader can judge for himself what pretensions they possess to be by the author of The Raven.